On this episode of the Star Wars Time Show, Matt and Nick will do their best to not throw in the towel on this thing thanks to IG nuking their account like Luke did to the Death Star. Fear not though, Matt is done throwing up from grief, so the riff on Ahsoka'S Inquisitor, who has a name now, Star Wars Outlaws scope, and massive amounts of Jedi being in the Acolyte. They'll also talk some business in regards to Bob Iger's comments on cutting back on content, and an update on the soon-to-be-cancelled, because of Bob, the Young Lando series. Of course, the show will end with the Question of the Week segment, and probably not the latest round of featured Star Wars artists due to the old account getting nuked. Punch it, Chewie. Hey now. Hey now. Woo! Fuck! Is this thing on? Yes. Maybe. No. Simon Says, punch your face. Alright, everybody, welcome. What a day! What a day to be a part of the Star Wars Time Show. I'm sorry, people, I'm trying. I am trying to get that piss and vinegar that you all show up for Tuesday evenings right here on youtube.com/Star Wars Time Show, 5 p. East. I'm trying, but it's been kind of a gut punch type of day. If you follow me on Instagram at HeywoodPop, or if you're in our Discord, which I usually would say, hey, go to at Star Wars Time Show on Instagram. You can join our Discord. It's open. We don't have paywalls and all that shit, but yeah, that's gone. So our Instagram presence was removed today for an unknown reason outside of the generic community guidelines violation. So I woke up like I always do, getting ready to check out the Star Wars Time Show hashtag, seeing who tagged the account over the past 24 hours to share some Star Wars art with our followers. And I get a message, the account has been suspended and I need to log in and verify my identity to complete the appeals process. And it was suspended for community guidelines, but no specific guidelines were provided. No specific post. I don't know if it was music I used. I didn't know if it was featuring accounts. I don't know if it was resharing stuff from Lucasfilm. Who the fuck knows? All I know, the account was suspended. I log into appeal, get the notice, hey, within 24 hours, we'll let you know if you can have your account back. And within 5 fucking minutes, I get the ban hammer. Hey, we reviewed your account, and by we, they mean some fucking artificial intelligence algorithm with some human's bullshit implicit biases baked into it, reviewed your account, and we decided after 5 minutes that it's still in violation of the community guideline that we are not going to tell you you violated and how you violated it. Your account has been permanently disabled. You have no more recourse. You cannot appeal this review any further. So here we go. It's dead. Fucking Star Wars Time Show is fucking dead. 5 years. 5 years of this guy right here, this happy asshole. Yes, I love Star Wars. This guy wearing the shirt with himself on it. It's as meta as it gets. I'm inceptioning myself tonight on the cast. Booted. For who the fuck knows what. 5 years of work. All right? Every day. On that fucking account. I I can't even get into it. Like I'm getting emotional right now. I can feel it. And not the kind of emotions I want to broadcast on a live stream. It's tough. It's tough. Sorry, like I said. Woo! Come on! You're a man! You're a man, goddammit! Okay. I'm gonna try. I'm trying. I gotta fight through these fucking tears. Whew. 5 years. I feel like such a slapdick right now. You know, I know this obviously isn't good for the podcast version of this week's show. Lots of dead air Dave, calling dead air Dave. Help me out. Not a good day to not have Nick. Nick didn't cancel me. He actually had a planned meeting. Damn it. I knew this was going to happen. I knew it. Dude, this is embarrassing. I'm sorry. It's just a lot of work, man. A lot of work. Okay. I don't know if I'm going to be able to recover. Jesus, I did better today. Just getting on the show and seeing you guys. It's like, fuck. It's all good. It's all good. It's all good. I'm going to be good. I'm going to be good. Sorry. This is terrible broadcast. We should be canceled. I don't know, man. I don't know. This stuff just means a lot to me, and it's like, fuck. Just tell me what I did wrong, all right? Give me my shit back. It's the lost effort that kills me. Okay. You're right. Men don't cry, especially manly men like myself. That's right. No, I have not seen Mission Impossible, but I am going tomorrow. I would love to be talking about Mission Impossible right now, because the wife and I, we just did a rewatch, and I will say, I love the Mission Impossible franchise. I really do, and you can say whatever you want about Tom Cruise. All right, the Scientology stuff definitely a little odd, but the dude is a fucking genius when it comes to action movies, the role of Ethan Hunt. I mean, really, I watch anything Tom Cruise puts out. He's like an uncanny human to me. He doesn't seem to age. Whatever the fuck's going on at Scientology seems to work. You know, maybe I need a little of that in my life right now. Pray to what's his name? Hubbard or some fucking scientist guy. But no, I have not seen the final Mission Impossible. What I was going to say, I got to get this shit back on track. I'm sorry, people. That was a rough fucking opening. All right. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that. I know other men don't like seeing a man cry. I don't like doing it. It is what it is. But it's you motherfuckers, like the outpouring of support I've gotten. That's what gets me. So thanks. All right, back to Tom Cruise. My point is with Mission Impossible, if you ever feel the need to do a rewatch, you can probably skip Mission Impossible 1 and 2 at this point in time. I mean, they're so old. They're kind of disconnected from the more modern Mission Impossibles that I say kind of started taking place after JJ and Bad Robot took over with Mission Impossible 3. But 1 and 2, I mean, 1, sure, it's a classic. Doesn't quite hold up from the technology standpoint. I think it came out in 96, 97. Mission Impossible 2 is just completely fucking bonkers. I mean, I think it's John Woo that does it, so it's very gun fu action oriented, but it's kind of a wonky plot. But once we get to MI3 and then Ethan gets mixed up with Julia, and I think that's when Benji gets introduced, Simon Pegg, it gets pretty damn good, and it only gets better in the Ghost Protocol, Rogue Nation, whatever the fuck one with Superman that came out before this new one that released last week. Those are all great. Those are worth rewatching, especially I'd say Ghost Protocol on, because that's where they kind of carry the same characters through, especially in Rogue with Ilsa Faust, who, my God, is Rebecca Ferguson, one of the most sexy motherfuckers on the planet. When she's in that yellow silk dress at that theater going to assassinate the Austrian chancellor, just beautiful stuff. Beautiful stuff, and yeah, I'm excited to go see it. I'll be checking it out tomorrow, and it's going to be cool because Stunt Buddy's coming to town, the guy I've talked about on this show before, and I haven't seen him since 2019, so that should be fun. Maybe I will reclaim my testicles from him after today's little wah, someone took my Star Wars Instagram away. Wah. See? I rebounded. I knew I had to kind of get that out of me. The way I've been dealing with the loss of IG today is, I don't know how you guys handle a gut punch, but obviously the initial email, I felt my, where you feel your heart sink into your stomach, and then the rejection, I was like, fuck. And I think after that, my brain just went into like protection mode and more or less became numb. But when my wife came home and started talking about it, I could feel the emotions bubbling a little bit. And I'm like, let's just stop. And sure shit, I get on here and start blubbering like a baby. But you know what? Fuck it. Who cares? I'm not going to put into that stigma. If you want to cry and you have a dick and balls, go for it. I'm tired of feeling bad for getting emotional as a man. And even my own little daughter fucking cuts me down for it. So fuck it. I'm an enlightened human male, motherfuckers. Call me woke. I cry. So what? See, now I'm laughing. Maybe I truly am bipolar. You never know. I've been wanting to get that shit checked out. So yeah, am I Impossible 7? Believe it or not, 7 Part 1. I'll be seeing this week for sure. And like I said, Nick will be joining us here. He had a meeting. I'm expecting him to call in anytime now. But yeah, just a weird day. So I can't even imagine, like, if I wonder tomorrow when I put this out on the podcast platforms, which, hey, if you listen on the podcast platforms and you haven't done it yet, please give us a rating and review. As I said in the intro, I truly am a Tinkerbell. Like, I am a human that I just need to be told I'm doing okay, and people like me. I don't know what that comes from. I'm sure it's some deep-rooted shit with my father and his lack of encouragement, support throughout my life, but I just need to feel like, hey, the effort I put out is appreciated. So kind of having my megaphone lit on fire and smashed in front of my face via the old IG Star Wars Time show was not the best way to start the day. But hey, we've got a new account. Yeah, yeah, IG, fucking Threads. It's probably Threads that got our ass fucking thrown off. What a fucking waste. Like lemmings, we all jumped over there and that platform's already dead. I should have known better. I got mixed up in the craze. But you all know Threads is bullshit. It's already lost half its fucking engagement. And it could be one of the reasons why we got tossed. That's the thing. Like, you know, Trevor hit me up. He's like, nothing, like no detail. I'm like, dude, no details. Not a post, no specifics. So I don't even know what we did wrong. So on the new account, which is horrifically named Star Wars Time .show, as in period show, that fucking bullshit. I should have just done Star_Wars_Time_show__ go fuck your mom. But that's the account. I really don't think we're getting the old one back. Nick actually got a hold of a live human, and they're like, yeah, your only recourse is to try to appeal again in 30 days, which means it's just going to go back to the same AI algorithm. It's going to see like one period off, which violates a community guideline. It'll get auto rejected. So there is a new account, StarWarsTime.show. But the whole featuring thing is going to fundamentally change. I know we were kind of like this pillar in the community, especially for Star Wars photography, toy photography. And we did help some people get exposed early on and launch them into larger accounts. That's just probably not going to be a thing anymore, sadly. And that bums me out. I mean, listen, I'm not going to mind missing that hour's worth of work every morning to go through the tags and the features and then, download the images and post it back to our account so they show up in the profile. I just don't know. Like, I would love the feature, but I don't know why our account got banned. And the only thing I can think of, it was featuring. Some asshole reported us. Or, I don't know. Like, I don't fucking know. I mean, if you look on Instagram at some of the massive Star Wars fan accounts, all they do is steal content from other platforms, including Instagram, and share it as their own. They don't remix it. They don't add anything to it. I mean, just look. I mean, Star Wars Sis, I mean, half of you follow them because I was following them too. Star Wars Sis, Star Wars Daily, all these motherfuckers out there. All they do is grab shit from TikTok that's viral and they repost it. So what the hell were we doing different? That's the thing. It's just like, it's so mysterious. I don't know what I did to piss off Zuck. So the featuring will change. We still want you to use the hashtag and want you to tag us so we can see your content. But features are probably going to be stories only. And then in terms of the top 5, we'll probably still do that on Mondays, post it to StarWarsTime.net. And then you're just going to have to come to the show to see what happens, or go to StarWarsTime.net to see who Nick chose every Monday from all the hashtags and tagged posts. I just don't know, man. It's like, all right. I mean, listen, this is AI for you. It's been around forever. I know a lot of you in the general public are just, becoming aware of it because of ChatGPT. But pretty much every algorithm around, whether it's for your credit score, getting a loan, it's artificial intelligence. And that artificial intelligence is usually biased because of the humans that code it. And when it comes to this type of stuff where you're asking for an infraction to be reviewed and it goes to AI, I don't know how that works. Like, the AI is probably only looking at certain things. So if it sees the one thing, it just auto rejects. You get no clarity. It's insane. So yeah, like Tones is saying here. I mean, there's other accounts that did some feature stuff they've added to, and then they've been removed. The Star Wars Time.show, I added it today, and because you glorious motherfuckers have been sharing it around and bringing back some followers, I'm trying to repay the favor and follow back. We got fucking suspended again for following too quickly, apparently. Luckily, when I appealed that one, the AI was like, you know what, asshole? We've raped you enough today. We're going to go ahead and restore your new account. So I don't know. Like I said earlier when I was all fucking emotional, I mean, part of the reason I think I had that little breakdown is just, I come here and it is such a small audience, and I think it should be a bigger fucking audience, like a lot of you have told me. I agree. Listen, I'm a narcissist when it comes to Star Wars. I do think I'm fucking great, and I think most of the things I say are somewhat intelligent and correct. I say a lot of dumb shit too, but hey, that's neither here nor there. But I do think we should always have had a bigger following. We should have more than, 10, 12 people watching live. But we don't, and that's fine. And I still enjoy doing this to interact with those fandos that are here every week. We've all kind of become this goofy, fucked up Star Wars time digital family, and losing my megaphone to that was bullshit. But seeing the fandos, the press pauses, the tones, the bats, the novas, the Sir Dorks, the props, the scoundrels getting out there. And if I missed you, I'm sorry. Like I said, it's been an influx of support. That shit is touching, okay? So it feels good to know that the rest of you are upset and you're going to miss our old page and as it used to be presented. But we're going to push through. And Sir Dork's he's not fucking around here in the live stream. Like I said, if you want to join the live stream, youtube.com, Tuesdays, 5 p at Star Wars Time Show. Or until, a Doomcock or a Theory gets us banned for community guidelines. There may be a silver lining here. I have always wondered what would happen if we did have an Instagram account that was just kind of our content and not mixed in with featured content. You don't know. But Jared is a much more positive person than myself. He's much more optimistic. And he should be. The guy has seen tremendous success in his jobbies, which have become real work, paying work. And, he's managed to kind of recover and keep his viral thing going. We've really never gone viral. So even our 16K IG was kind of tiny for the years it was there. And our YouTube's still pathetic. It's just like the algos don't like me. Maybe I'm not controversial enough. I know that's what it is. You know me here. I know what I could do to bring more eyes to YouTube. And I'm not going to do it. Like, I don't want to become another Doomcock, another Zero, another Star Wars Theory at this point in time. That's what the algo wants, but I'm not going to give it to them. So I rely on you all to kind of keep doing this ground troop type of shit and osmosising it into other people's brains and letting them know, like, listen, you like me, you like my content, you appreciate my opinions. I like this idiot. Why don't you go check him out? So that type of stuff is appreciated, and it's what is keeping me going. Not once today was I like, you know what, that's it. I'm fucking sticking a fork in this whole thing. I didn't feel that way, but the whole IG thing, man, that was rough. I've been trying to vamp long enough for Nick to come on here so we can get into the actual Star Wars talk, but I know this is getting kind of weak here. Let me see where he's at. Hopefully he's soon. We'll get him in here because it's funny. Like a day after, we were spinning our wheels on who the Inquisitor in Ahsoka could be last Tuesday, and then sure as shit, I think it was Wednesday or Thursday, we get some insight. So I wanted to talk to him about that and see if he too thinks that, as you can see on the live stream here, this Inquisitor was named Merrick. And I'm like, yeah, fuck you. My name is Bob. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't buy that that's the real name. But I really want Nick to show up so we can kind of discuss that one together. We talked a little MI, right? We got that taken care of. We talked about getting deleted on IG. Hey, how about this? Do a little show and tell. I've been unpacking my 1/6 scales that have come in since the basement has been fucked, but now that it's unfucked, I'm starting to put the 1/6 scale back, and it's nice. It's nice taking them out and kind of caressing them, talking to them, brushing their hair if it's like a Chewbacca, dusting them. But a few new ones are, I guess, to the community, not so new, but to me, because they've been sitting in boxes, pretty new. We got, let me see if I can drag this over here. See, we got Jesse's in there, the pilot, Ahsoka, animated Yoda. I got the Mando Luke's over there. The Purge Trooper. I'm going to go grab the Purge Trooper. This guy looked pretty good. So, now that IG has kind of made it odd for us to feature, maybe I can get back to toy photography myself. See, like Jared said, silver linings are coming my way. But it seems like the Kenobi 1/6 sale or 1/6 scale from last summer, it seems they're shipping for those of you that are an asshole like me and pre-ordered a bunch of them. Here he is. Here's the Purger right here. Looking good, not looking bad. And I ended up, I don't know why. I guess if anyone else is in the stream here, did anyone else pre-order the IG-12 with Grogu in the gut, or was that like too much? Because I already have the IG-11. I have like 500 1/6 scale Grogus. But for some reason, I was like, you know what? I feel like I need IG-12. So I threw him on the pre-orders, Clone Wars Sidious, and that's about it. I passed on the Captain Fox 1/6 scale. I don't like it. Or Commander Fox. Don't like it. I want his like Phase 2 helmet on there. I don't like the Phase 1 head and that maroon paint. Give him the fucking red. Make him look like the murderer that he is. You know what I mean? Yeah, Bat, I know what you mean about space. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna put all my 1/6 scale up that I have and see how many shelves I have left in my glass. And if I have some glass left, I'll probably bring in like my SH Figure Arts 112ers. But I don't know, man. I'm so over the 112 scale figures at this point in my life. I kind of look at them and I hate them. You know what I mean? Like I really would like to just throw them all in a tote and be like $3,000. Come pick it up. No boxes. The accessories will be in there somewhere. I don't give a fuck. You know what I mean? Yeah, Tones saying Fennec's coming. So yeah, I just got my pre-order shipping for Crosshair. So all that's getting ready to ship in here soon. Doesn't look like Nick is quite ready yet. So let me do this. I want to talk to him about Merrick. I know he's probably wants to talk about Disney losing money, but maybe he won't get the weight. I'll do this one with him. All right, so we got some Acolyte news, and this comes from the Dagobah Dispatch, which is, I think, Entertainment Weekly's official podcast or whatever the fuck you want to call it. So it's not our show, so it's actually legit. Tone, yeah, I'm sorry, I'm scatterbrained today, people. If you're on the audio only, apologies. We'll be back to normal next week, hopefully. Tones is not wrong. If anyone else got the Hot Toys 1/6 scale Book of Boba Fett Deluxe, where it's Boba on the throne, it does take up a whole shelf, but I feel like it's shelf worthy. It just looks great in a display with the light on it. So Tones, the way I'm rolling with him is I've got Boba on the seat, no helmet on his knee, and then he's flanked by his former self. So I got him in his Tusken gear, and then I got him in the acid wash shit that he wore on Tython. So it's like the three phases of Mando versus Boba on a shelf. You know what I mean? Yeah, the throne stuff definitely works. Hey, B Mad, we love you, bro. I'm glad we could help. I know you're a little late, but we got canceled on Instagram today. So I had myself a little bit of a pity party. Maybe got a little... Oh my God, I love it. Howard Stern would not be a fan. All right. I'm having fun, people. I needed this after all. Once I got through that opening, I need this. I need to be with my people here, wasting money on fucking Hot Toys and other stupid shit we do because of the Star Wars hobby. So, again, thanks, everybody. All right, but anyways, we'll do some Acolyte stuff here, waiting for Nicky Boy. Hopefully he calls in soon. But like I said, Leslie Headland, the showrunner, sat down with Dagobah Dispatch, last week, few weeks. Who gives a shit? And they talked about some stuff. They talked about the Acolyte, and one of the bigger sound bites came out of here was the claim by Leslie that their series is going to feature the most Jedi to ever be featured in live action, which, if you take into account the Geonosian arena battle and then the subsequent Battle of Geonosis, that's a lot of Jedi. All right, so here is what she said. And I just thought it was very interesting to do a show about the bad guys, and to set that during that time period made the most sense. Again, 80 years before the prequels. So I think that's what sets it apart. It's kind of almost flipped. We have more Jedi than you've seen in any other of the Star Wars content. Okay, that doesn't really make sense, but I'm reading it as delivered. So what I wonder, and what I would have asked Nick, and I guess I will ask you all here, at least you on the live stream, anyone listening. I know there's a bit of a delay, but maybe I'll get a response that works. Do you think Leslie is implying we're going to see that many Jedi on screen at once? You know, like you go to like fucking Club Jedi and they're just all hanging out in an arena, kind of like on Exegol with all those Sith acolytes. Will it be like some massive battle similar to what we saw in Attack of the Clones? Or is what Leslie's saying more of it's going to be a total number of Jedi? Like throughout the series, you're just going to come across this Jedi, this pack of Jedi, that pack of Jedi, this pack of Jedi, this pack of Jedi. And then, you know, by the time the series is all said and done, its number of featured Jedi will be greater than any other Star Wars franchise before it. So, I don't know. What say you, Nick?
Well, I don't know. I hate Star Wars.
No, I'm just kidding. See, if we think about the time period, again, we're coming right at the tail end of the High Republic. I don't know if they're still going to call it High Republic. Based on the leaked images we've seen many months ago, it definitely looks like it's High Republic era Jedi. They're at least wearing their garb. So yeah, the Jedi at this time are still in their glory. I'm sure their numbers are great. And they are celebrated around the galaxy. They feel, again, like, hey, we've won. We are the only Force users out there. Sith, what the fuck's a Sith? They haven't been around for thousands of years, you idiots. We're the Jedi. We are awesome. So we got B-Mad here in the stream. He's saying he's expecting this to get like a temple scene or a battle. So, yeah, that's kind of what I think. And it's like, I don't want it to be some cheap, like, oh, yeah, look, they walked through the temple and there's a ton of Jedi, so that's what makes it. I want it more to be like, all right, let's actually have them featured, nuanced, in doing things. So for me, I would, instead of like just a big, badass scene full of, you know, like the rave from Geonosis, all the light sticks and random waving at blue screens no one could see, I would almost prefer, like I said earlier, like we get to come across all these different packs of Jedi. Yeah, we're going to have our main cast, but throughout the journey, we're going to run into, hey, this Jedi on this planet and his followers or apprentices, so on and so forth. I'm kind of like B-Mad here. Or, yeah, Nova's guy. Nova's saying here, I think she means more Jedi in general, but there'll probably be seen with a good number. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at, Nova. Like, it's just going to be, you're going to get exposed to a bunch of Jedi. They're not going to be so secretive, even more so than what we saw in the Grand Republic during the prequels. You know, they were still pompous assholes there, but for the most part, they hid away. They stayed up in their temple. They weren't obviously out fighting any wars at that point in time. They weren't out like the High Republic Jedi trying to break new ground and explore new parts of the galaxy. They were just a peacekeeping force, you know, just kind of hanging out, going out on missions in pairs when needed. So I think an Acolyte, since they are kind of like the cream of the crop of society, galactic society back then, you probably will see them in more instances, different scenarios that we typically weren't seeing Jedi involved in the prequels, OT, and then obviously the whatever the fuck they're called these days in the Mandoverse, the unaligned Force users in post the OT era. But it does, like I said, it makes sense. I mean, she goes on to talk about that the Jedi we are going to come across, they're not going to be Yodas and fucking Mace Windu stiffs. You know, they're not going to be the black and white type of Jedi. She said here, but at the same time, I think you see more morally ambiguous characters than you've seen in other Star Wars content. And I think I can say this pretty confidently. I don't think you're going to see action in other shows the way that you see it used and utilized in our show. So I hope what she's saying here is that you're probably going to see some Force users that may be considered Jedi doing some things that you never would have seen in the prequel or OT era, especially the prequel era under Yoda's full kind of grand mastership of the Order. I don't think she's also just talking about Jedi. I mean, she's just talking about a lot of the characters that'll be featured. I mean, let's be real. The protagonist is not going to be your traditional good at heart character. It's going to be the dark side leaning, the Acolyte, aka the title of the fucking show. You know what I mean? Nova is saying he's gonna be pissed if we don't get a Yoda cameo, and I agree. It wouldn't make any sense. We have to assume at this point in time that Yoda is Grand Master, or at least almost there. I mean, he's clearly going to be on the council. He was heavily involved in the High Republic era. So you would think, and he makes sense to add to the story, because I'm sure he would be one of the assholes if there's a buzz around the temple like, hey, an Acolyte, we're getting murmurs of the dark side rising again. I could see Yoda saying, hey, go fuck yourself. Right?
Visions aren't bad.
You know, that type of stuff.
Like, don't believe in the visions. You are sure on the future and what may happen.
Okay? So, I agree, Nova. I think Yoda needs to get a cameo, a spot, something. He would be too important to the Order even at this time. I mean, we're only 80 years, but for a Yoda creature, that's what, maybe 8 years at best? So it's got to be in there. All right, what's Tone saying? I like this. We're just gonna work with the fans for now while we wait for Nick to get through this meeting. Tones is saying here, had a convo with a work colleague about if Ahsoka will topple Andor. I said not, but he disagreed. Said she's more popular as a character. I countered with the writing will be superior on Andor. Well, Tones, I do think Ahsoka is initially going to get a bigger pop for that reason. It is a character that has, over a decade. It's a character that kids grew up with. That's the important thing, I think. It's the kid factor through the cartoons. Ahsoka obviously started as a teen. She was relatable to younger kids. So I do think you're going to have a larger initial audience. The audience could dwindle if they don't love it, if they think it's off, if it's ruining their childhood. All the stupid bullshit Star Wars trolls come up with to talk about why they may hate something, even though it's probably just fine. Where Andor, on the other hand, again, it to me it still is niche-y. Yes, it is the best written. Look at all the Emmys it got. I mean, I think the Star Wars properties. It got like over 20 Emmys between Kenobi, Mando, and Andor, with Andor getting like the legit ones, like actual, like not, special effects or action. It's getting like writing. For some reason, it didn't get acting, which is a shame. But yeah, I think Ahsoka has a larger built-in fan base. And but I do not think Ahsoka will be as well written, as deep, as kind of emotional, at least in regards to how the characters are delivering their lines. It may be emotional because of our nostalgia for Ahsoka and the Rebels cast, but not like an Andor where you're listening to a brand new character in a Luthen Rael, right? Or what's his name? I'm ashamed that I forgot Andy Serkis's character. Oh, Kino. These are brand new characters, potentially throwaway, and they're delivering some of the most memorable and emotional dialogue in all of Star Wars. So yes, Andor will ultimately still be the best written, probably produced, more adult-oriented Star Wars, where Ahsoka, I do think, is going to have a larger built-in audience. You're not going to get that type of deep writing and emotional soliloquies or speeches as we got from Andor, 100%. But I'm jacked for Ahsoka, even though we're talking about the Acolyte. But hey, it's fun to get scatterbrained on a day like today. All right, so moving on here. Back to the Acolyte. So there's going to be a bunch of Jedi, but they're not going to be the goody tissue type. It seems like a lot of people in this timeline are a bit more ambiguous in terms of their morals. So she also kind of clarified the timeline and the narrative perspective that fans should expect in the Acolyte. Again, this is a timeline never before featured in live action. And it is going to be told from the point of view of the bad guys, which again is something new to Star Wars. So, a few weeks back, I'm sure I pissed people off when I was jumping down their throats for already discounting the Acolyte for whatever reason. But I'm telling you, just hold out for this one. Just hold out. Like get through all the internet bullshit and all the tar and feathering that Leslie's been going through from the big channels out there that thrive on negativity and hate. And just watch it for yourself. Let it play out. You know what I mean? Let it play out. Let's get away from this. Oh, this shit's going to suck because some asshole said I would think it's going to suck. And that extends beyond Star Wars. Like we've all gotten a little too lemming-like because of social media. Just use these things, all right? The squishy orbs in that skull of yours, in the brain you got. Watch it. If you like it, great. If you don't, great. Okay? It's okay to not love everything. It's okay to also not hate on everything because you think that's the way to get some clout as well. But here's what she says. So I would say that the Acolyte stands out because it is the earliest in the Star Wars timeline than we have ever been in live action. We are towards the end of the High Republic, leading into the prequels, George Lucas's prequels. So we are looking at a time period where the Jedi are at the height of their power. We're looking at a time period where there is peace throughout the galaxy. And it was very challenging and interesting to make a Star Wars with no war in it. That's the other exciting thing for me. If you think about every other Star Wars, what is the main crux of the narrative? Galactic conflict. The showrunner is telling us right here that is not going to be the centerpiece of the Acolyte, which means it's going to get into the nitty-gritty of the characters, how they think, how they felt during this time, what their motivations were, how the Jedi in this time of peace and their hubris were able to let the dark side rise again. Who started the dark side movement? Will Plagueis be involved? Could the embryo of Sheev be involved? We don't know. All we know is when it's going to be set and that it's going to be told from the perspective of the bad guy. And that last part right there is probably the thing that gets me the most excited. I know, myself personally, Nick on this show, other people that watch this show, we've all been pulling for, let's get a Darth Vader series from the point of view of Darth Vader. Now, while the Acolyte is not going to be that, and I don't think it could ever rival that if it were the Dark Lord himself, but it's getting there. It's getting into that mantra of let's see how the bad guys operate. Are they truly bad? Uh-oh, I'm getting a call. Let's bring in my buddy here. Just time out while we shift gears and get young Nick folded into the cast. There he is, looking young as usual. Welcome, my friend. You missed. I could have used you early on. I had a full-on emotional breakdown, tears and all. It was. Let's just say, catch it on the replay, because that's something that people could cut up and burn me for the rest of my life. But I'm a person. I got feelings, and it kind of bubbled up to the top. So, welcome, my friend. Let me get you on screen here. There he is. We're home, people. The other half of the SWTS show is now here. Here he is. Young Nick, let me make sure your mic's up. Yeah, you should be good to go. All right, buddy. Welcome.
I'm here. Hello. Welcome, one and all, to the Star Wars Time show, right? That's what we are now.
Yeah. Oh, show. I mean, I said earlier we should have been star_wars_time_show_ go fuck your mom, but I didn't.
Honestly, I will say this on the whole topic of the Instagram account, and I'm going to take this as a positive spin because, like, ultimately, when it comes down to it, like, let's be real transparent here. We weren't making any money off of our Instagram. We're not making any money off this show. Like, the number looked nice, and it's nice that when we post stuff, you know, on the old account, we had 16,000 followers, and you see like numbers go up. That don't mean shit. Like, you get 1,000 likes on a post, it doesn't matter. Like, 1,000 people liked it doesn't mean that we get anything extra other than a little piece of dopamine that hits us when we see that a post got 1,000 likes. What is impressive to me is that over the time period of when Matt created the new account, we already have over 150 people that followed it, and we have essentially no posts on it, just the post of like our profile pictures and Matt kind of explaining what the deal was. So the fact that, like, in the little amount of time that it's been since our account has been like taken down and then we have a new one, there's already over 150 people that's followed this one. You know, it gives us an opportunity to really like reapproach how we handle the Instagram side of our socials, because a lot of people could have looked at our account and been like, oh, well, they just share other people's work and that's all they do. Now we can be a little bit more discerning with what goes on the feed and stuff like that. So, you know, a number is a number. It is what it is. It sucks that like we had put essentially 4 or 5 years of work into that, and now it kind of just you know, it's gone, and there's not really a lot that we can do about it. But like, it's not like we were an influencer account. It's not like we had brands approaching us constantly to
I would not be on the show today.
Like
if this was like our income, I would be dead. I would be dead. We would not be doing the show. I'd probably be outside hanging from a tree. So Nick is correct, so, I mean, but you know, I got a little emotional. And what it was, Nick, it was signing on and seeing all these motherfuckers, you know, and like you said, the outpouring of support that I got on Haywood Pop that we're already getting on Show. And it's just like, you know what, there are a few of these motherfuckers that do care. They do enjoy us. They like our content. Yeah. They got what we were doing, and they're here for us. So that's what. If you want to have fun, though, definitely rewatch the opening of the show. It's pretty pathetic. It's like,
but
I need Fred here playing that. The crying drop.
You know, it definitely sucked, and like, you know, I reached out to people. Matt reached out to people. Nothing can be done. It is what it is. But every show, you know, we say it when we close, but now is actually the time for those of you listening live and for those of you that are listening on the you know, the podcast platforms of your choice. Now would be the time to actually go out there and like, hey, share our page, share some of our content on Instagram, help us build back our follower base and stuff like that. That would be super nice. If you are a fan of the show, to go out there and like, again, we rarely, if ever, ask for money. The only time we've ever done that is we gave you something back with the merch that we had up there. But go share our page, go share some of our posts, help us rebuild our numbers and stuff like that. We appreciate everybody who's already followed us back. But yeah, I mean, it gives us time to kind of like rethink how we want the feed to look and stuff like that. We've already kind of decided some things when it comes to features. We're definitely not going to be featuring, you know, artwork on the feed anymore. And I will be doing the top 5 purely based off of uses of the hashtag. Hashtag Star Wars Time Show is obviously still out there. That number hasn't gone down.
David canceled that yet.
150,000 uses. Yep, can't get rid of that. Over 150,000 uses of hashtag Star Wars Time Show. So just make sure you use that on your posts. Make sure you, you know, if you see a good art post out there and they didn't use the Star Wars Time Show hashtag, go drop a comment on there, use the Star Wars Time Show hashtag, encourage other creators out there to use it. Yeah, so that's my thoughts on it. It definitely sucks, but hey, it's just a number, and we weren't making any money off that number anyway.
I'll tell you what, though,
there we go.
Negative stuff sells, because when I posted like, hey, we've been canceled on Instagram on Haywood Pop, it got all sorts of traction, bunch of comments. It's like, well, that's what I was telling him earlier. It's like, that's what all the AIs want now, is just fucking death, destruction, negativity, and shit. No facts, no fun. Just like everything's bullshit now. So
I mean, it happened to Jared. And Jared has built his account.
Yeah, he got hacked. We did not get. I want to make it clear, we did not get hacked. Like my shit's secure. We got whatever. Like there's no clarity. But hey, let's move on, Nick. So where I was at, I saved the Merrick thing because I wanted to run through that with you. We're kind of in the middle of the Acolyte post right now. In particular, down talking about its timeline in the narrative perspective being set from the bad guys. Okay, so. We were just talking about how this show on paper is supremely unique to anything else we've gotten before, based on the timeline, the bad guys being the protagonists technically, the amount of Jedi that Leslie said are going to be featured. So I guess a few questions that I wanted to ask if you were here. When she says this show is going to feature the most Jedi fans have ever seen in a live-action Star Wars property, my question to the listeners was, do you think that's going to be like some big-ass wide arena type of shot like Attack of the Clones, or will it be a culmination of meeting this Jedi, this pack of Jedi, this group of Jedi, this group of Jedi throughout the series?
Yeah, I mean, my hope for it is that it's a little bit more personal, because you can like obviously point to the clone or the Attack of the Clones scene on Geonosis, where it's just like a shitload of people in front of a green screen that you don't know their names, and they're fighting all these droids and stuff like that. That felt like very like distanced, and you really like, yeah, there was a bunch of people on screen, and it was like an overwhelming almost feeling of like, wow, there's all of this hell breaking out and all this battle going on. But I would hope that like in the Acolyte, we get a little bit more of a personal view at some of the Jedi, and not just like, oh, here's like a wide sweeping scene.
Right.
But realistically, like, it's hard to say like we have the most Jedi, like, you know, most live action Jedi than any other Star Wars. I mean, well, they say series, so most live action Jedi than any other Star Wars series. That's pretty fucking easy to do.
Does anyone want to like screenshot the Geonosian Arena and start counting Jedi for us so we can get ready for 2024? I get,
but honestly, I think
they might not even be live action in half those shots. They're like fucking bullshit CG assholes.
But I think so. If this came from Leslie, I think she means series. Like, I think she means shows. She doesn't mean movies. The Acolyte will feature more live action Jedi than any other Star Wars series. Yeah, she's talking about TV shows. So the Attack of the Clones doesn't count.
We'll see. I'm counting them, motherfucker. I'm getting my clicker. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, so the one we are on.
And you've seen in any other circuit. Yeah, I mean, we'll see. But anyway, like the High Republic also just had like Jedi coming out of their ass.
That's kind of what I was saying before you came on. It's like we're at the tail end of that, where they're fucking heroes and badasses. And that's kind of where I left off in the last quote here, Nick, and why I'm not trying to sell the Acolyte. I'm gonna watch it. I'm excited for it. But for those that are like already kind of discounting it and canceling it, you got to think about what it's made of and how different it is from what we've gotten. And Leslie makes a great point here in this last quote, Nick, essentially saying like, listen, due to the timeline, this is going to be one of the first Star Wars series where a galactic conflict is not at the center of the narrative. There's no,
it will be nice.
There's no galactic war. There's no good guy versus bad guy. It's just good guys seemingly reigning supreme. But we're going to learn through our protagonists, aka the Acolyte, the bad guys, that the good guys are that hubris has already kind of kicked in, and it's blinding them to what these bad guys, as Leslie called them, are currently up to. So, you know, she kind of talks about, Nick, like, and how this was a bit of a challenge when you kind of compare it to other Star Wars, where every other Star Wars property has dealt with a galactic conflict. She says, Though the question became, well, what should this show be about if it's not going to be about galactic conflict? And I think that what makes this show different and interesting is that it's from the perspective of the bad guys or the villains of Star Wars. These are people who are using the Force in their own way, dipping into the darker side of the Force, and are doing it without being sanctioned by the larger institution, which in this case is the Jedi. And I think that Star Wars is always about some version of the underdog versus the institution. Yeah, I mean, literally, we're bad guy heroes. That's what we want. We've been calling for this. I know it's not our guy, right, Nick? It's not Darth. But I like that someone is taking this challenge, and obviously she's completed it. I think they finished filming. Who the fuck knows what they're going to be able to do now that all of Hollywood is on strike. But I like what she's selling here.
Yeah, I mean, we've always kind of called for it, like you said, like getting more of a perspective from the antagonists of Star Wars, because like, as you've probably heard when it comes to like movies or just like general, life, like bad people always think that they're doing the right thing. And I don't expect it to be like, I hope from this series that's what we get, is like they're like the antagonists or like the bad guys in this show aren't just like these evil scheming mustache twirling bad guys that like are kind of
well, Nick, I think she's
kind of that we make fun of.
Yeah,
now,
she's essentially saying the Jedi are going to be the antagonists, at least from the point of view of the story being told, because we're going to be following probably what's her name or their name? What is it?
Amanda.
There you go, Amanda Stenberg. It seems like we're going to be following her character, who potentially is dabbling or runs into people dabbling. So you are right. It's going to be positioned or portrayed to us as we, as in the dark side people, we're doing the right thing. Like what we're thinking about, what we want to do that is anti-Jedi tropes, that's the right way to use the Force. Fuck the institution.
Well, it's also like you can also look at it in a very prohibitionist type of way, where it's like the Jedi are enforcing rules on other people about how they can use the Force, but what makes them what puts them in charge of how other people do use the Force? Like what if if these people are dabbling on the darker side and I'm sure there'll be conversations about what is the dark side?
Yeah,
why
what if they're healing people or raising people from the dead? Is that bad?
Yeah, what constitutes a dark side Force power? Like if somebody is out there using powers that the Jedi have prohibited, but they're not hurting other people, or they're doing it for their own ends, but their own ends aren't necessarily like evil, but the Jedi are still like, no, you can't do that, we're going to put a stop to it. Then from their perspective, they're not doing anything wrong. They're just using forbidden powers that have been forbidden by this large governmental body that has now decided that well, you can't do this because we said you can't do it.
Yeah, I think you're right. So and I hope that's what we get. I don't want I'm dabbling in the dark side so I can blow up the Senate. I don't want that to be the protagonist's goal. Their goal, as Nick is saying, should be, I just want to use the Force the way I want to use it. Because maybe I got to save a family member using the Force in a way that the Jedi would not approve of, or maybe I got to save a planet using the Force in a way the Jedi would not approve of. So I'm with you there. I don't want it to be, we're actually dabbling in the dark side to ultimately overthrow the Senate and everything. No. Like Nick said, let's just, what are their motivations to start using the Force in this way, and are those motivations just?
Yeah, and I mean and look, I think that ultimately, every counter side's goal is to hey, we want to put ourselves in a position of power so we can institute rules, or we can institute ways that are more open to how we view things. So it wouldn't be surprising to me if their ultimate goal was, hey, we want to be able to put ourselves in a position of power so we can say hey, what you are doing in the Jedi Order is not right because it's putting unnecessary restrictions on people and stuff like that. But if it is just like, because we've seen essentially 3 sets of movies where it's like the goal of the Sith is to take over the galaxy, or the goal of the dark side is to take over the galaxy. It's like, yeah, we get it. Like, you know, like that's the goal, is to be the leader of the galaxy, but like have some nuance behind it and give us reasons, because like even like what was Palpatine's reason for taking over the galaxy? Just so the Sith could rule again? Like, he never gave concrete reasons. He never said
I think
you're
right. It truly was so that the Sith could finally be the guys. Because I mean, wasn't that their goal, Nick, from way back? Even in the Legends material, like ultimately the Sith, they just, instead of the Jedi, they wanted to be the ones kind of setting the world order, or the galactic order.
Yeah, exactly. And like that's what Palpatine, like that was always the goal. Like after the fall,
your cheapo villain goal is, I want to take over the world. That's not what we're looking for, right? Or at least nuance it, and I want to take over the world because the Jedi are fucking it up, something like that. Yeah,
exactly. Like this is why, because like at the end of the day, like in Revenge of the Sith, after fucking Palpatine, you know, throws Mace Windu out the window, and like after he's all fucking bloodied up and doing weird shit and stuff like that, he essentially says, once more the Sith will rule the galaxy. It's like, yeah, I get that. Like, yeah, you're gonna rule the galaxy, but like why? Like to what end? Like, and that was also like that never even came to fruition in like the original trilogy timeline. Like his end was to literally just be like a galactic dictator. There was no reason behind it other than like his own personal like power grab. Yeah. And that like ultimately like that was cool to watch because it led to, you know, like everything that we got in the original trilogy, which was amazing content through that, but it was not a nuanced reason. Like his reason was
Nick,
just
it's not even like we saw him use the power. It's not like we saw him enjoying his palaces on Coruscant or his country retreat on Naboo that he stole from the Amidala family. Like he just hung out and just made sure that more people were dying and falling in line. That's all he cared about. Fall in line. You don't fall in line, we'll blow up your planet. You don't fall in line, we'll send some garrisons there. He ultimately just accumulate as much power as possible, and that's it. That's it. Yeah. Just power, so, unlimited power, as Nova is saying. Yeah,
yeah. No, I mean, I'm very interested to see like what the motivations are for, you know, like what the motivations are for the bad guys here, and like how they are, like if they are building their follower base in this time period, like how they're building their follower base, like how are they selling their stance to other people. So yeah, very interesting.
It could even be, you know, Amanda's character could be dabbling, and she possibly runs into like a Plagueis, someone that has really taken a deep dive into the dark side. Maybe he or it influences her to kind of take things to the extreme. But yeah, I'm with you. I really hope it's not just some I want $1 billion type of villain type of shit. And I don't think it will be, because she made the choice to make them the holy shit, make them the protagonists. So hopefully it is more character driven, nuanced, and there is kind of an emotional reason behind whatever they do versus just, I want unlimited power.
Yeah. So, I mean, we'll see, but I am definitely excited that we're finally getting Star Wars from the point of view of the bad guys.
Was there any really chance understanding that you started your record
motivation? Yeah, I did.
Sweet, thank God for Nick. I completely forgot to say go, so I should be able to like bumblefuck these together tomorrow. Perfect. All right. Now that young Nick is here, I want to rewind a bit and go to Merrick. You know, Nick, you and I were spinning our little wheels last week on this character, the Inquisitor from Ahsoka. Who could it be? Is it Ezra conditioned? Hopefully it's Barriss. Some fans think it's going to be Starkiller. We were saying if it's brand new, it'd be ridiculous. And, well, at least based on the name, Nick, it looks like they're trying to convince us this is a brand new character. It was revealed, I literally think a day or two after our broadcast last week. that the Inquisitor that we've been seeing in the Ahsoka trailer, which as we detailed in our last show, it doesn't make sense. Like Inquisitors shouldn't be just be kicking around the galaxy during the Mandoverse. So what is this person doing? I think Nick brought up the fact that maybe they potentially use the WBW when Morgan and them were using it, and they somehow slipped through, and they're kind of lost in the timeline. I'm hoping it's Barriss, because that would kind of close a narrative loop from way back in the Clone Wars. I also wouldn't be disappointed if they tried the Revan thing with Ezra either. But Nick, like I said, they put out some official stills last week after releasing the trailer, and in the stills they named the character, and the Inquisitor is named Marrok, Marrok, played by Paul Darnell, who was Henry Cavill's stunt double on Man of Steel and Justice League and all that type of shit. So, a big, beefy, good-looking dude. It is not a female in the costume, like I incorrectly diagnosed last week. So it is a male. He has a decent stature. Like I said, he doubled Cavill. I don't know how tall Cavill is. I'm assuming he's at least 6 foot or something.
Yeah, I think he's pretty tall.
My question to you, Nick, is this a fake out, or are they doing what we really don't want to happen, and they're just going to introduce a new character randomly in a timeline where this type of character should not be?
Yeah, I mean, I think that. So here's one thing I'll say too. I think a lot of the speculation that I had around it being Barriss was because I thought props told us that it was a woman in the suit.
I think it was me, and because I literally it looked like the stunt coordinator was wearing it in like in a release. So yeah, I fucked that up.
Okay, gotcha. Never mind then. It's okay, props. I'm sorry to call you out. But I mean the name means essentially nothing, because we've already we already know that if once you join this Inquisitor ship and stuff like that, you can change your name to be whatever the fuck you want to be.
Yeah, you become a number and a sister or a bro.
Yeah, so that's what these people are anyway. It's just the fact that we called Reva by her own name the entire time, and the Kenobi series was rare for Inquisitors because they're always referred to as, like you said, fifth brother or whatever. In terms of is he just going to be Marrok? I think that
hey, I'm Marrok. Nice to meet you. Hello, my name is Marrok.
I think that we in particular always fall into the the cadence of it should be somebody that we already know, because there's already so many characters in Star Wars that are interconnected to every other character that
True.
Why would you make another new person when you don't need to, when you could continue a storyline that's already going from another property and have this be a thread closer. I think that it's it is very possible that it is a brand new character, because if we're just purely basing it off of the gender of the person playing it as a male and the name that's given, there is nobody that I can think of outside of Ezra that would be a very specific villain for Ahsoka that is a male anymore, especially a male Force user. It's only Ezra that kind of fits that bill, unless they really kind of dove deep into some backstory, some lore, some legend stuff. That
let me throw something at you. And again, this is I think B-Mad may have gave this to me, and I'm not completely discounting it.
Is it Galen Marrok?
There you go. There you go.
Again,
spellings
I think
are different,
but
the pronunciation spot on. And I'm with you. I think that's a 0.01 chance, but it is funny how Galen Marrok and Marrok. It's okay. And if you think about who Galen was, at least in Force Unleashed, he was Vader's hidden apprentice. So you would have Vader, you would have Anakin's apprentice in Ahsoka, potentially squaring off with Vader's apprentice in Marrok.
Yeah, I mean, I could definitely see that. I mean, as I said before, if they use that as just kind of like a gimmick, like almost like a callback for fans, just like use the name Merrick to be a callback to Galen Merrick from Force Unleashed, and like interesting.
You would like that better than if it was actually Starkiller, right? Like if they were just tipping the hat with the name, that would be fine. But if it was truly Galen Merrick, it'd be
like if he took his helmet off and it's Sam Witwer under there, I'm not going to complain. But I do think that it's Kenobi, just like
when he takes it off and just goes Kenobi.
I mean, there you go. Then it's really just fan service. But and the thing is like trying to figure out because this is Dave's baby. Like, I mean, like he's kind of running the ship on this thing. Like trying to figure out what he might do here is interesting, because like what meaning would it hold to Ahsoka if it's like, hey, I'm Darth Vader's apprentice who you've never met, but we're going to fight now.
Well, she knows. I mean, clearly in the Mandoverse time, well, even in Rebels, she figured out that Vader was Anakin. So she would have that connection.
Like, but even if she is like, well, yeah, I know that like you're Vader. Like, I know who Vader is.
Hey, bro, that was like
master.
10, 15 years ago. Get over it.
Yeah, it's like this is much like a way long ago.
Yeah, hey, by the way, Vader's been dead for over a decade, asshole.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, I don't even know you. It's like, oh, you're Merrick? I don't know who you are. I don't know.
Nice
like,
tricks.
Other than the fact that like your master told you to kill me in a different timeline, like I have no
I get it.
Attachment
I get it.
To
and
you.
That's why, again, man, I still was like, and you're probably right. I don't know. It would seem odd for someone like Dave of all people, just like, you know what? I'm just going to whip up a brand new character and attach it to this fan favorite that has over a decade worth of lore and canon behind her, and we're just gonna slap this dude Merrick in there. I still think it's a fake out. If it's not a fake out and it is just the nod to Galen, and this Merrick is not Galen Merrick, but it's still somewhat apprentice to Vader, sure, I might be able to do those gymnastics. But to me, I'm still going back to, I think the best payoffs are Ezra or Barriss, be it a boy in that suit or not. It gets a little too maybe in the know or in the weeds, right? If it's Merrick and it's somewhat loosely based on Galen. I mean, we're already worried. Some people are already worried, like, well, what if you've never seen Rebels? Well, now they're going to throw like random video game legend lore at you. I don't know.
I mean, yeah, it's a little bit too deep cut, honestly, to do Galen Merrick. And I think that like, and this is something that we'll talk about when we get to this story later, but like when you go super deep cut, you alienate a lot of your audience. And like, because then there is an expectation that you know who these people are. And there's already a pretty large expectation that you know who these people are with this show in general. Like you said, like if you haven't watched Rebels, then like you're starting from literal fucking ground zero on this show, and you're like, who's this guy? Why are they looking for him? Like, who are like? I may know Ahsoka from Clone Wars, but even if you're not a cartoon watcher, this show is completely out of left field for you. Like, if you've never seen any of the animated stuff, you're like, who the fuck are all these people? Why is it set in a way that like I'm supposed to understand what they're doing prior to me watching this? Like, this show already has a lot of hurdles for you to jump just to understand the very base level of where it's picking up off of. And then if you go even further and you add in like a Legends video game character from over 10 years ago, like you're really starting to, like, you're really putting yourself in a hole in terms of like the potential viewer base, because it's like, okay, like, you may get people in the door because they're like, oh yeah, Ahsoka, this is the one person that was in that one episode of Mandalorian season 2. So like maybe there's interest there, but she
said hi to Luke in Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah, like yeah, exactly. So she was in like, you know, a total of 45 minutes of
40
content,
minutes of screen time.
Yeah, but like you're like Dave is already taking a very big risk with basically making this show a sequel to a
Yeah. All right,
show.
So again, based on what you're
animated
saying
show.
here, and I'm with you, that's why Ezra makes the most sense, because new fans will already be keyed into him through Ahsoka, right? Because they're part of their mission. We're assuming is going to be like, oh, Ezra this, Ezra that. He's tied with Thrawn. We got Ezra. So that would work, right? I mean, if it is Ezra, it would work for the new and the old.
At least if it's Ezra, it is your barrier to entry is one show. Like, that's what I'll say. Like, if it's Ezra, all you got to do is watch Rebels and you know what's going on.
Well, I guess I didn't say it. My point, Nick, would be, even if you never watch Rebels, you come into Ahsoka and they're going to be throwing around this Ezra name and holograms, and you're going to be able to tell, like, okay, these people care about this guy. So they're hearing the name, they're seeing the hollows, and then boom, he reveals himself. They're going to be able, just from Ahsoka itself, the series, go, oh, Ezra. You know what I mean? Yeah,
that would make the most sense. I mean, Barriss would probably be
a little tricky, because that would require, like we said, a little history lesson,
the additional history. Yeah,
and she's even less tricky than if it's Galen. But I'm not going to deny the Merrick connection. I mean, it could just be a cheeky nod for sure. But this character, again, is very interesting. Knowing the name or not, it's still a big mystery to me. And I do think Merrick is ultimately going to be a fake out. And if the mask comes off, it's going to be someone we know.
Yeah. No, I mean, I hope that's the case too. Yeah, I mean, I hope that's the case, that it is somebody that we know.
Anakin's
whether it be
Force Ghost.
If that's the Anakin Force Ghost, if it's Anakin's Force Ghost, then maybe
Star
Bob
Wars
Iger's
like
right.
They canceled our account for sure, no doubt about it.
If that's literally what happens, then maybe Bob Iger's right.
Bob Iger's an asshole like every other CEO out there. Any entertainment CEO right now, you look like a dickhead. Because we can all see your salaries and the increases you've given yourselves over the pandemic, and it does not does not lend to the narrative that you all are hemorrhaging money. Because if a CEO can go from like 20 million to 40 million in 2 years during the pandemic, you can pay the fucking creatives that are making the work.
I saw something that David Zaslav,
he's the only one that went down,
like,
Nick, but he was making like 160 million as CEO. It's like, what the fuck?
Dude, he made $500 million over over the last 5 years. David Zaslav has made $500 million.
He's the only CEO of an entertainment company that took a pay cut, and it's because he was making triple-digit millions, and now I think he's down to like a lowly 20 or 30 million a year salary.
Which is insane, because David Zaslav has essentially just made the worst cinematic universe
destroyed DC EU, like it's gone. The Flash didn't even make as much money as Black Adam. It's like, no, the Flash did worse than Green Lantern at the box office, and I still don't think Green Lantern was as horrific as even Ryan Reynolds says. It wasn't great, but wasn't a complete pile of shit. But the Flash takes that cake now. So yeah, I mean, dude, and I'm sure we'll get into it, because we are going to talk about Bob's pompous fucking bullshit he's throwing out there. But it is nuts, and I'm glad the actors finally left. And I know some of you, if you're not into, some unions get a little weird, and I'm sure some of you are like, oh, these fuckers make 30 million a picture. You got to understand, that's like the 0.1% of Hollywood. Most of working Hollywood makes 50 grand or less a year, and they're the ones getting fucked. This was a statistic that came out. So if you're in SAG, you need to make at least $26,000 a year to get health insurance, and only 18% of people that are in SAG make $26,000 a year. So that gives you an idea of like, yeah, you see all these big, huge movie stars like Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt and all these other motherfuckers out there, and you're like, Hollywood. They're outliers.
Yeah, like those, like they are like you were saying, kind of like the 1%, top 101% of Hollywood, but like a majority, like people that work on like TV shows that are like TV show regulars or like recurring characters on TV shows, they don't make a lot of money. Yeah, like secondary, tertiary characters on like big movies oftentimes don't make a lot of money either. So like it's, I'm not saying that like, oh, we should feel bad for actors in general and stuff like that. But like what I'm saying is just like, just realize that like the celebrity level that you see on, at the Oscars and on the TV, news outlets and stuff like that are like the very, very lucky ones.
Yeah, I mean, think about it, Nick. They're even like a star of that level, like a Brad Pitt, a Tom Cruise that can work as long as they do and command $10 million a picture. That's a smaller pool of humans than even a professional football player, baseball player. I mean, it's tiny. You can probably count on two hands the mega stars that are currently working still. So I get it. I know a lot of people, there's a lot of FUD out there. Oh, they're strike, they're lazy assholes. All they do is write and make a ton of money. That's not it. These fucking entertainment CEOs are out of control with their bonuses, their pay. They don't do shit. They don't make any of these fucking shows. They don't write any of these scripts. They don't have any ideas. They just sit up in the C-suite fucking saying, do this, do that, fire this division. I need to make money for that. That's the key. Listen, these CEOs, they're not out to make entertainment. They're out to increase the stock price for the rich people that own all the stock. Okay? That's it. Simple. So get behind the artists. All right? Don't be a dickhead. All right, let's we'll talk about Bob again. I used to somewhat like Bob, but I actually think Bob is one of the smuggest pieces of shit CEOs out there at this point in time. Like, he is a cocksucker, the way he's kind of talked about the strike. And listen, I know why he's got a big head. He quit, and the guy that replaced him fucked things up, so they begged him to come back. So anyone's going to feel like a god at that point. But Bob's got to understand, without the creatives, he's just another white guy in a suit that thinks he's important.
Yeah, it's not going to end well for the CEOs on this, I think, either, because like,
they look dumb. Their argument's bullshit.
Like, yeah, I mean, at this point, like, before the actors started striking, they could hold out. They could be like, well, we're just going to fuck over these writers.
One of them's on record saying, yeah, we're just going to hold it out till they're homeless.
Yeah, I know. I saw that, and I was like, "This is how these people think," which is so fucked up.
Of course it is.
But like now that the actors are on strike, and like even big actors like Tom Cruise and stuff like that, then they're going to be like, okay, well, now our suite of releases is down to reruns,
reality TV. Yeah, we're going back to what was it, like 2009, 10, where it's just nothing but reality show and half seasons and fucked up series. I mean, this is what killed Lost back in the day was a writer's strike. It wasn't we have not had a double like the talent and the writers since I think 63. So Hollywood's dead. It's dead.
Yeah, and it's already been announced too that Disney is going to start releasing their like Disney Plus exclusives to cable now, because like what is it, Miss Marvel is going to be released on like Disney owned channels to like cover the gaps of stuff that they can't produce now. So
yeah, you'll probably start seeing Marvel content again on Netflix any day now. It's like,
oh yeah, I mean they've already started to like license out Disney content to other streaming services. Like, and so is HBO has already started to license their shows to Netflix.
Yeah, it's wild. I mean, there was a show I think Disney Plus put out in middle of May. It's already been removed from the platform.
Yeah, I mean, I think that
hey, Bob's got to make those bonuses. There was a point I'm like, yeah, maybe he's infant. No, in the end, if the CEO can pay himself $20 to $30 million a year, they're making money. They are making money.
And like here, and like let me like put this into perspective for everybody. So everybody's talking about Indiana Jones being a flop. Indiana Jones has made over $300 million in its box office run just thus far. Like, it's not done yet. It's already made $300 million, but they're calling this a box office flop because the studios just decided one day that like, we're going to spend $500 million to make a movie, and it doesn't even have to be based off of the need for $500 million. That's just what we're going to spend on it. And that's raised the expectation of the box office to be like, well, if you don't make 600 million, 700 million, then it's a failure.
Yeah, isn't that weird? Like, dude, even if a movie makes 100 million, it made a fucking 100 million. Like, it made money.
Like,
you are right. It's like if it doesn't make if it doesn't make like 3,000% on its ROI, then it's a failure.
Yeah, and it's pretty crazy to consider the fact that like you can make $350 million worldwide and be considered a failure because the studios have blown their budget way out of the fucking water because they just decided to. Like this Mission Impossible movie is like the only thing that's keeping this thing from being a failure is that it had a huge international. Like it like this movie has made less than $100 million domestically so far, and it's been out for over a week. Like,
yeah, typically a movie like that, a summer release, it would have made over 100 in its opening weekend. And that's why, dude, I don't understand why they launched it on a fucking Tuesday of a normal week. Like, literally, I was saying it last week. Like, wouldn't you do this during 4th of July, maybe? Or just do the Thursday, Friday release? But, oh well.
Yeah, I mean, like, if you look at the domestic right now for Dead Reckoning, for the new Mission Impossible movie, is $78 million.
Yeah,
and
for a week, that's
that
not good. Not a summer blockbuster.
Yeah, that's not good.
Not a cruise movie either. I mean, I was just talking earlier, like, he's the guy. Like, Scientology aside, I'll go see anything Tom puts out because I know it's going to be fucking quality content. And I'm still going to go see it tomorrow. I mean, but you're right. It's just it's as I said, when it comes down to it, the C-suiters, listen, they don't give a fuck about entertaining us. They don't give a fuck about their artists. They give a fuck about the stock price and all those rich assholes that own most of the stocks in the world. Okay. I think 80% of stocks are owned by like 13% of humans.
Yeah, probably so. I mean,
yay!
No, dude, it's just it's fucked up, and like, you know, I think that like there was a period of time where like these Hollywood movies could do no wrong, and like they were there, and I think a lot of it is too. If you just like go back and look at these. Like the top grossing movies and stuff like that, it's based off of old tentpole franchises and old tentpole actors. Like Tom Cruise. Like Tom Cruise is in his fucking 60s now, and like the interest is waning for Tom Cruise now, because the people that like the younger people, Gen Z and stuff like that, like they don't give a shit about Tom Cruise. Like their stars are different stars than what was previously carrying box.
Suck.
I mean, their stars are like social media and influencer stars. No, it really is.
That's the sad state of humans and what humans find entertaining these days. It's fucking social media dickheads. That's sad, so man, because I love the cinema, but it's not getting any better. I mean, if you're telling me an MI during the summer when people really aren't that afraid of COVID anymore, didn't even clear 100 in its opening week, that's not good. Not good.
I mean, it's just like the studios think that like, oh well, you know, we can just put out a Tom Cruise movie and it's going to make $500,000 or $500 million because that's what happened with Top Gun, or we can put out another Indiana Jones movie and it'll make $1 billion because it's Indiana Jones. It's like the creativity that they were asking for, and like they just straight up turned down like smaller budget projects that don't have a possibility of making $1 billion at the box office. Like they've just completely started to lean towards like event only style movies and stuff like that. They've really gotten away from like allowing people to be creative in what they make. And this is what happens. It's like when you crank out a 10th Mission Impossible movie with a 65-year-old Tom Cruise, like people are just going to lose interest because it's like, well, what story are you telling?
I'm excited. Like, I can't wait to watch it, to be honest with you. I love Mission Impossible. I was just saying before you came on, I just rewatched the other 6, and the first 2 don't quite hold up. You can skip those, but I do think it's a quality franchise.
I mean, all of them are. Like I thought that the Indiana Jones movie was good, but like you also have to understand that like that's not what like a majority of people or like a ton of people are interested in anymore.
Well, one of the movements is go woke, go broke, and that's kind of the label put on Indiana Jones. Again, I mean, just listen to.
I don't know how that one is.
Again, you had a female in a lead role, and she did action stuff next to a man, so that's why. And Doomcock told us that Kathy hired Phoebe because she looks like her, and she's trying to replace all of our old male stars from our childhood with females that look like her. That's the explanation.
And I also like, I'm still at the point where I'm like, I don't understand how a $300 million movie 2 weeks into its release is a failure. Like, I just don't understand that.
Weird. Hey, since we're on this, we might as well just skip to Bob real quick. Then we'll go back to Outlaws. I don't know how much more we even need to go into this, but I will say this. Bob's a dickhead, okay? He's an arrogant motherfucker. I think Nick will disagree with me here, but I can kind of see his point on pulling back on Marvel because let's be real, the Marvel brand has just been... it's lacking in quality since phase 3. And there have been, I mean, they're still putting out 2 or 3 movies a year, 2 or 3 shows a year. I can feel that it's oversaturated. Now, when it comes to Star Wars, I'm going to disagree with Iger here. If you think about it, we haven't had a movie since 2019. We've only had, Mando, Andor, Kenobi, live action, and then Tales, Visions, and Bad Batch cartoons. So in 3.5, 4 years, that's all we've gotten in Star Wars. So to me, that's not an oversaturation. Sure, you can sit there and talk blue in the face about the quality of The Mandalorian's latest season or the Book of Boba Fett, this, that, and the other thing. But I don't feel like Star Wars has been jammed down our throats as much as Marvel. So I think Bob's a little off base here, but when it comes to cutting costs, as Nick's been saying, these days it seems like if you want to make anything Star Wars, it's going to cost you at minimum $100 million if it's a TV show. If it's a movie, upwards of a $250 million. So it's an easy target just throw out there, be like, oh yeah, we need to cut $3 billion, so I'll just throw out Marvel and Star Wars. Those are the big tent poles. They cost the most, so fuck it.
Yeah, I mean, I think, and like this is kind of what I've been saying for a while now, and like the stuff that's being made for Star Wars is being made for us, is being made for like the people listening to this podcast, me and Matt, the people who are like truly hardcore Star Wars fans. Problem is that when you make content for like very small audiences, they don't recoup investment. Like that's just how it is. Like if you look at like the formula that George was using, whether it be by his choice or not, like, whether it be like he pitched TV projects and it got turned down, like obviously we knew what happened with TV projects that he had pitched to live action Fox. They were just like, no, Star Wars isn't for TV. But what it was Star Wars was event franchise. Like you get 3 movies in a trilogy, 79, 80, 83. It comes back fucking 20, almost 20 years later, 3 years split between each movies. And it was an event. It was something that drew the world in every time a movie came out.
I used to pray back in the late 90s and early 2000s that the universe would at least let me live to see episode 3. Like that's how, like you're saying, it was like a long wait, but there's 3 years between every movie, and it was an event. You would start building up for it, and you'd be like, please, I don't want to die. I need to see this. I need to see what happens. You are correct, and that is gone.
That's gone. And like you could say, and like it started with the Star Wars stories, and I'll say I loved both of them. I love Rogue One and I love Solo. I think Solo is one of the most underrated Star Wars movies in the whole catalog. But it started there because once they started the trilogy, the new sequel trilogy, it was kind of like reappropriating that George formula. You're going to get a movie every 2 years, and it's going to be like, this is telling another part of this trilogy story. It's going to be it's going to be event focused. It's going to be franchise focused, stuff like that. Then they start sprinkling in the Star Wars stories, and you're taking away from that feeling like every time you go to a Star Wars movie, it's an event, because now every year there's a Star Wars movie. And when you do stuff like that, it just dilutes. Like, people become less and less interested because it's less and less of an event every time something comes out. And now we've gotten to the point where you took something that was this like, oh man, every 3 years a Star Wars movie is going to come out and it's going to feel so gratifying that we're seeing Star Wars again. And now it's like, well, you got 3 series a year, and then you got other series that are in development that are going to add to that catalog. And then, I mean, at least at this moment, we've had a hiatus from the movies, so it's not like constant barrage of Star Wars on both the big screen and the small screen. But that's what's happened, is like Star Wars isn't an event anymore. And for people who were like into Star Wars as casual fans because it was an event when they came out, now it's like, yeah, but there's Star Wars on all the time. So like, what's the difference? Like, what?
I got you there. I mean, I'm listen, like you said, we're the dopes that they cater to. So I definitely still get excited. I'm excited for Ahsoka. The bigger problem with the Star Wars TV is, how do we recoup the money? Like how does we've heard the number 100 million thrown out for The Mandalorian to do 8 episodes. Okay, fine. How does Disney recoup that through Disney Plus? Like, what's the formula? Is it because I signed up, my $6, whatever goes to that? I think that business model for Star Wars TV is not working for them. I don't think they are making a return on the TV shows. No,
and that is why they're going to license it to other streamers, because that's how they get the money back. Is like, okay, we paid $100 million to make this. You know, it released on Disney Plus for X amount of time. I don't know how they do their revenue calculations for like how much each show's revenue share is for, you know, their release window. Like when Ahsoka releases, I don't know if they look at like subscriber growth over X amount of time.
Right. Yeah. It's like,
what are they
looking at? Like, okay, this show was successful. It made money. We can do another one. I don't. Yeah. Where's that formula?
And I don't think that, and the big problem is I don't think that the studios truly understand that yet either. Like,
or
I don't
think
and
they don't want to make it public, because that's kind of been their leverage over the talent is, well, hey, you have the most watched show on Netflix, but it didn't make money, so we don't owe you shit.
Yeah. So it's like, so now the answer is, well, we'll license it to Tubi, or we'll license it to Pluto, or we'll license it to another paid streaming service like Netflix or HBO Max or something like that. They pay us a licensing fee, and that's dollars in our hand that we can say like, okay, we paid $100 million for this. We licensed it to Netflix for $50 million. We licensed it to, you know, Pluto TV for $25 million. So there's $75 million right there, plus whatever revenue that we can attribute it to from Disney Plus. Like, that's how we get our money back. So I can see why they're going to license it to other stations.
Yeah, I'm good with that. What I won't be good with is just the knee jerks from the non-creatives. Like, fuck it, let's just cancel everything because cost cutting, and that sounds what Bob's getting into. So
yeah, and like, it's difficult too, because it's like, now with Star Wars in particular, I mean, and Marvel, you've gotten to a point to where the stories that you're telling in your television series are so, it's not something that everybody's interested in.
I will give him this, Nick. His quote that Marvel in particular has diluted focus and attention for the brand. I can't agree with that.
Yeah, that is unquestionable. Like, and this is something that I was talking about, like, not necessarily dilution in terms of like, you know, the amount of content, but like dilution in terms of like the quality of your storytelling. Yes. Yeah, like the quality of your story. I mean, like, quality of the visual content for sure has gone down, but it's also like the quality of your storytelling has gone down, because you're telling stories about relatable superheroes in completely unrelatable circumstances at this point. And like, that's what drew people into Marvel. What drew people into Marvel was relatable superheroes in like relatively relatable circumstances. Like, yeah, you're fighting like, you know, monsters and aliens, but like like the first Avengers movie was about protecting New York City from an alien invasion. Like, that's a super relatable thing. And now you're talking about like
multiverses and
fucking
quantum
multiverses
verse.
and like, yeah, like there's so much you're so far from your starting point in terms of like the quality of your storytelling that it's like it's not hard to believe that people are just like, what? Like, that's why I'm just like almost completely tuned out of Marvel at this point, because I'm like, I don't know what the fuck's going on, and like there's so much for me to now catch up on to just purely understand what is happening that like I don't even know if it's worth my time. Like what why would I go watch I watched the Multiverse of Madness movie and I was like, why the fuck did I watch this? Like, the only reason that I was remotely interested in it was because Scarlet Witch was in it and I like that character, but everything else was just like a mishmash of nonsense and bullshit that I'm like, I can't even track what's happening.
You definitely need to
anymore.
watch Ant-Man then.
Like,
you watch Ant-Man, you're gonna poke out your eyes. You're like, what the fuck is this?
So like, so here, I just want to address one of the comments from the chat. B-Mad says the Netflix game failed for Disney. That is completely the opposite of the truth. Like, Netflix is what launched Disney's streaming service. Like, the success of Marvel on Netflix was literally what caused Disney to be like, we can make a streaming service purely based off of this. So not only was it not a failure, it was so much of a success that they were like, they literally said like, we don't need you, Netflix. We can literally launch our own streaming service. And they did. And it's now the second largest streaming service on the planet. Like,
and supposedly
it's so
not making money because Bob Iger needs to make his bonus.
Yeah. Like, I don't know what they're like. Obviously, we've heard from the investors meetings that like apparently Disney Plus is a huge money loser, but I don't have like, I can't tell what their financials are. All
that's
we have
what I
to go
mean.
off
They just say it.
Exactly.
We don't get to see their EBITDA. You know what I mean? We're not seeing their earnings statements. And if you've ever worked in any sort of corporate anything or business and gotten into accounting in general, to me, is just made up magic bullshit with numbers. When it's in a corporate business, you can do shit with your books that is, you would think is illegal to hide losses or recoup some or get tax breaks. I mean, look what WB did with Batgirl. Just fucking fuck it. Here's like, 200 million. We'll just write it off, and we'll actually make money this year doing that, and that's accounting for you. Yeah. So. Yeah, I mean, don't take a CEO's word for, our streaming's not doing well, that's why we need to cut content. It's more than likely it's doing fine. They're just not making enough money to increase the stock price fast enough for the rich people.
Yeah, I mean, because it's such an interesting thing when you see, you know, when the streaming service launches and it's the fastest to hit 100 million subscribers ever. They're like, oh my God, look at us. Like, we've launched this streaming service. It's the fastest growing streaming service ever. We're pulling subscribers away from Netflix because we've taken the content that we had on Netflix and we're putting it on our service. And then 8 months later, they're like, well, it's the biggest money loser on our books. It's like, well, which one is it?
Yeah.
Like, it's the second largest streaming service in the world, but you're saying you're losing money off of it, but you're not telling us why you're losing money off of it.
It's very suspicious. It really is. I mean, listen, I don't want to dumb it down, but it doesn't take a rocket scientist to run a streaming platform. It doesn't take some magic devices in the sky to run a streaming platform. I mean, the Disney's and these companies, they probably already had some of the infrastructure in place, or they tapped into like an AWS or a cloud platform that already has all the infrastructure. You just need to say, set it up this way. So,
I mean, just to like put dollars to it for the people out there who are like unsure of like, well, how much money does it make? Your Disney Plus subscription costs you what, $5 a month?
It's more than that now. I think it's up to 8 or 9 if you start new.
Yeah, I mean, what's the monthly recurring?
I'd say it's $8.
Plus
use $8. I'd say that's the closest to, you know, if you did like 3 years to reduce. $8 should work.
So if so there's, call it, even if there's 50 million monthly recurring Disney Plus subscribers at $8 a month, do the math there. 50 million, which is a lot of zeros, times 8 is $400 million per month.
Okay, so
times 12.
How are they losing money? Like, what are you running? Like, so is your server farm on the moon?
Yeah, it's like just purely based off of Disney Plus. If their subscriber numbers are at least 50 million
Bob Iger's bank
per
account,
month,
man. That's where it's going.
That's $4.8 billion a year. It's $4.8 billion a year just in terms of Disney Plus subscriber revenue. Right. Like, how are you losing money?
Didn't they start an ad platform now too? Ad supported?
Yeah, they have ad supported.
They're making ad revenue. So yeah, that's what I'm saying here. I think a lot of this stuff coming out is FUD from the C-suite because of what's going on in Hollywood. The strikes, the writers, the actors. This is they think their only leverage is, hey, we're just going to tell everyone, all the poor saps that consume our content, that us rich guys, we just can't make the money we used to because this streaming costs a ton of money. But I think Nick broke it down. Obviously, you're going to have other costs that will chip away at that monthly revenue. But fuck, if you're making over $400 million a month on a single platform, I would think you have business processes in place, the right people in place to manage this unit, that it's not a loss. I mean, it's insane if you're making $400 million and you're operating at a loss.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so here's the numbers. This is straight from Statista. You can look it up. Disney Plus subscribers worldwide, Q2 2023, 157.8 million. 157.8 million subscribers to Disney Plus in Q2 2023. That's right now. That's a slight decline from Q1. Q1 was 168 million. But if you do the math on 157 million subscribers at $8 per user, that is $1.2 billion per month. Per month. That is $15 billion per year. Like, how are they losing money off that? Like, I work in marketing, so like these numbers and stuff like that is like a part of my job too, because your overall revenue is a part of your marketing budget. Like, those two things work together. So I kind of have to know this shit. If I had 157 million subscribers at an average cost of $8 per subscriber, and I know that I'm making $1 billion a month, like, holy shit. Like, how do you lose money? Like, it's not possible. Yeah.
Even this many years, you could be like, oh, startup cost, sure. You know, paying for the first round of shows to be produced, sure. But, you know, this thing has been around since, 2019 now? I mean, hello, Bob, look in the mirror. I mean, what are your directors? Yeah. What are your VPs doing? Like, who's pissing away the money here?
It's like you could, at that revenue per month. I mean, obviously, we don't know marketing costs and we don't know all of the other costs associated.
Even if you slash it 50%, they're still making $7 billion a year on Disney Plus.
Yeah, and it's like you cover the cost of producing these like 4 Star Wars shows that cost you $100 million plus in a month.
Yeah,
like you cover it in less than a month at this pace. Like. So it's not that your production costs are too high. It's not that your salaries are too high, because that's what the actors are striking about, is like, unless you're like a megastar or you're like the star of the show, you're not making $1 million per episode. Like, where does your cost go? Like, so it's like they're like they can cry all you want, but like I can look at these numbers and be like, there's no way you're burning through $1.2 billion in revenue per month. It's not possible. Like,
they got bodies in the closet, man. They're paying off something that they don't want anyone to know. So, yeah, like I said, I think some of this, what Bob's saying last week, there's truth to. I really, the Marvel stuff for sure. Star Wars, I think
there are quality concerns.
Yeah, Star Wars, he might be a little off. I don't feel like that's been oversaturated, and I know some of you have quality concerns with the Star Wars too. I could see it a little bit, but I think the Star Wars has been okay. not enough to warrant, hey, we need to scorch earth this motherfucker and just stop projects. But speaking of projects that probably definitely will never see the light of day now, I mean, I think that the Acolyte is safe, Skeleton Crew's safe. Anything outside of that besides Mandalorian Season 4, I think is sketchy, and that includes the Young Lando series. So, Nick, we got an update from Justin Simeon, who was announced this is all the way back in 2020 was when this happened, that he was kind of working on this and writing the series for Disney Plus. It sounds like he actually did some work. And he was recently asked about this because I believe he is directing Haunted Mansion coming out at the end of this month, starring Ahsoka'S better half, Rosario Dawson.
That actually looks fun.
Yeah, and then we heard from Kennedy earlier this year that, hey, yeah, Lando's still happening. But Simeon, in a recent interview with The Direct, said that he has not received an update since that update, which I believe that update was the December 2021, not the one that Kathy casually dropped this year. So here's what he has to say. I certainly poured my heart and spent a lot of time working with them to put together a really great show. So to me, that reads, this shit was scripted out at minimum. Like, It was written. It feels like everybody loves it. And, I was told we had to put a pause on it because of scheduling, and the next update I got was in 2020. So, yeah, some years ago. So I don't know. I have no idea what's going on with it. Well, let me tell you, brother, that show's dead. Bob's got his reason now. You can pretty much take it to the bank, my friends, that the Young Lando series, even though it is confirmed to have been at least scripted, it's dead. It ain't happening.
Yeah, I mean, in the current landscape, it's definitely been put on the back burner. Maybe even the back burner was left on and it was set on fire.
Yeah,
but
more likely, Iger showed up with his flamethrower 2000 and was like, hey, what's something we've only spent a little bit of money on? Maybe just gave a writer some cash. All right, Young Lando. All right, next. Shred that shit.
See? Yeah, I mean, it's likely not going to happen, which is sad because that's another, for those of us out there who have seen Solo and that really liked Solo, I think that one of the huge reasons that it was a win for us was specifically because of Donald Glover's Lando. I think he did a fantastic job of taking what Billy D did and rewinding that character a few years and really
definitely
really assuming that mantle and did such a fantastic job with it. But right now, I mean, you can pretty much take it to the bank that we won't see this in the foreseeable future, if at all.
Ever. I mean, the fact that the poor writer hasn't even been called in over 3 years almost, that's not a great sign. Not a great sign.
And I understand that you have content calendars and a lot of it, with this show in particular, I will say that a lot of it has to do with just Donald Glover's schedule. Donald Glover was making his own show and writing his own show with Atlanta, and Atlanta just wrapped up relatively recently, I think.
Well, and we've discussed this before, but Donald, he's kind of unique in where he will only do certain art forms during certain years. He may just want to rap for a few years, and that's what he does, or he may just want to act for a few years, and that's what he does. I mean, that's it. He does not mix his art forms.
Yeah, and Atlanta ran from 2016 to 2022, so it just ended last year. So, you have to work around the schedule of him writing and filming Atlanta. You have to work around his schedule, his touring schedule for his rap career as Childish Gambino, which I think he's kind of put on the side now.
Yeah, I don't think he's touched Gambino since Solo. 2018 is when Solo was coming out is when he launched his most recent album.
Yeah, so there was a lot that was just going on in his life and a lot of personal projects that he was working on. So I can see why that would get pushed down the, why Lando would be delayed, because you're essentially working around Donald's schedule. So I can't really, like, I don't know who to place blame on that. Like, I don't know if that was literally like, you know, if Lucasfilm was like, well, we're ready when you're ready, and Donald was like, well, let me wait till I'm finished with Atlanta and then we can move on this. And now that he is finished, we're in this situation where everybody's fucking striking. All of the studios are just cutting projects to use as tax write-offs and stuff like that. So that may have literally just been like bad timing with Donald's schedule.
It just seems odd that the other person attached to it hasn't heard jack shit, and he's just a writer. So it does.
Yeah.
It leads me to believe it's just another one of those projects that someone pitched to Kathy on one night, and she's like, "Fucking A, sounds great. I'm putting in a PowerPoint presentation for December," and ran with it. And now, you know, the old egg face and talking out the side of the mouth, oh yeah, we're working on it, and it's a work in progress. We're still doing something, and they'll just keep doing that game until 10 years later it's still not out, and us two assholes are still wondering, hey, when's young Lando gonna come out? It's coming out with the Droid series, right? You guys remember Droids was announced then too. Where's that at? Where's that one? Where's that one gone?
Yeah, I mean that's almost assured.
Rangers of the New Republic.
Like if you just look at, like, I mean, and like when it comes down to it, like when studios like Lucasfilm, who are a part of like a larger conglomeration like Disney, like when it comes down to it and like budget cuts come from up above, like they don't have a say in it. Like if somebody tells Dave like, hey, bud, you got $200 million to make series for this year, and we already talked about what the production costs are for Disney Plus live action series can be in the hundreds of millions of dollars. I mean, I think Andor was almost $200 million. Like Andor was a huge budget show.
You would think, because it didn't use the volume. It popped all halfway around the globe to shoot.
Yeah. So like that had a huge production budget, and it was the least watched show of the Star Wars suite thus far. So like that was a fucking knife. And then you have to imagine that, like, if they're getting budgets from the CFO of Disney that says like, hey, at one point you had $600 million, now you have $200 million. Well, what are you going to make? You can't just end The Mandalorian. Like, what are you going to do? Say like, okay, well, The Mandalorian's over. Like, we're just not going to make that show now because we have limited budget. Like, you have to continue that. That is your only recurring series that you have.
I think Din is safe for now until Bob wants a second super yacht, and then they're gonna have to cut that one too. So his base can go up to 100 million.
Once you get to that point, it's like, okay, well, we have say $75 million dedicated to just Mandalorian production. Well, what are you gonna make now? Are you gonna make Lando, which is a question mark because it's a spinoff of a movie that essentially you decided to kill your whole movie universe over?
Flopped in quotes.
Or are you going to make, are you going to stick with the Mandoverse stuff? Like, you have to stick with the Mandoverse stuff because that has now become a TV universe. So like it's shitty when you're in situations like that and you have a budget that's given to you from on high. Like, what are you supposed to do? Like, you could decide like, well, let's make The Mandalorian for 25 million instead of 75 million. So you cut the budget of that production by fucking more than half, and then that way you have more money to make other shows, but then you're skimping on the quality of your flagship show. Or you make Mandalorian at its full budget, and you just say, well, all those other projects that we legitimately were going to make are just not going to happen anymore. Like, that's your two options.
Yeah, it's he's not wrong. I think we're going to be limited to about The Mandalorian when it's all said and done in terms of Star Wars TV. It'll be Mandalorian, then the supporting Mandoverse movie, and that's about it. I don't foresee Ahsoka getting a season 2. We know Andor's naturally done after season 2. And I don't think Skeleton Crew has legs for a multiple season. It doesn't seem like it would. And Acolyte seems like it's going to be a one-off because it's going to soon butt up to the prequels. Right. So yeah, we'll see. I mean, Bob may get his dream. There may be no Star Wars content in the next 3 or 4 years for Disney. So.
I mean, it's going to be interesting. And like B-Mad saying that this got me on my dark side. It's just it's like when there's certain amounts of visibility that like anybody can see. Like we can all see Disney Plus subscriber count. Just go look at it. Like you can look it up online. And like when we can see that financial side of things plus the financial side of things where you're like seeing how much and like here's the thing is like we're just seeing CEO pay. Like that's just CEO.
Oh yeah,
pay.
yeah.
That's
They're
all of the other.
They're lieutenants. Like they're not the C-suiters, but your VPs and your directors. They're probably. I'd say directors are making 150 to 200, maybe even 250, and then the VPs are probably 500 plus, and then obviously ridiculous bonus potential as well.
Oh yeah, like anybody in the C-suite is making tens of millions of dollars per year. I mean, Bob Iger's salary over the last 5 years, $195 million.
And that's like, probably not including bonus. That's probably base.
And that's the funny thing is like that's over the last 5 years. For 3 of those, he wasn't even the fucking CEO. Like. That was when Bob Chapek was CEO.
It pays to be at the top of a capitalistic firm. There's no doubt about it. It pays to be in the C-suite. But you're a shithead. So and really, what we're all saying here with the money, you just got to remember, like, I do think now a lot of the shit you're hearing is FUD. It's the fear, uncertainty, demand that they'll do in any market to try and get people worked up and manipulate things. And I just... Yeah. I do not think these companies, these entertainment, these streaming houses are bleeding cash like they're telling us. It's just it's unfeasible.
And what's fucked is that from a public perception point of view, it's the actors and the writers that are the bad guys.
That's why I tried to explain earlier. Like you got to shift what you think about this strike because they're not in the wrong. It's the fucking rich assholes running these companies that do nothing but make millions of dollars on the backs of creatives. That's it.
Yeah. So but my mom who's watching TV and is like, why is it all reruns? Like, why don't we have any new
these lazy assholes? They should shut up. They're not out here digging ditches.
Yeah, like they're going to look at it and be like, well, the actors and the writers are striking. Why are they doing that? Why are they striking so we don't get new content? And then that just fuels the argument from the studio side where they're like, well, it's like we want to make new stuff. We want to make new content for you guys, but they're striking.
Yeah, it's these people.
It's their fault
people.
that nothing.
No, you're right. When it comes down to it, and this is something I've always thought about this, but I gave up on it because it's impossible. And don't accuse me of being a communist or Marxist when I say this, okay? Just think it through. But if us workers, okay, let's face it, if you're not in the 1% or C-suite, you're the worker class in this country. If we could, for 2 or 3 days, actually commit to some sort of nationwide strike, be it buying gas, buying food, going to movies, buying cars, we could fundamentally change how business is done in this country. We could change how we work. We could change the amount of hours we work. We're everything. And like I said, I mean, if you look back in history, this is what the Lenins of the world did. And, you know, that shit goes sideways. But if the worker class could actually organize and just say no to buying and living in the luxury for a few days, weeks, we could fundamentally change the world. And this is pie in the sky shit, but it's true. Think about what these C-suites would be doing if Nick and I could convince 8 million people right now to cancel their Disney Plus. You don't think that would change something? Fuck yeah, it would. If that money stops flowing in, that's how things changed. And that's it. They don't care about anything. They don't care about people dying. They don't care about misogyny. They don't give a fuck about anything. As long as the money's flowing in, they'll justify their business. But if we could actually just commit, like, hey, Nick, we don't need to go eat our Chipotle burrito today. Let's get 300 million people to do that. Chipotle is going to change something. Okay? Like I said, I don't talk about this out loud because you get branded a communist, a Marxist, a Leninist. That's not what I'm advocating for. I just want to remind everyone the power that we have as not the elite. We have way more power than they do. They need us. We don't need them.
But also, like, the biggest capitalist motto that's out there is vote with your dollars. And that's all that is what, like Matt's saying, that's what everybody's saying is like, hey, if you don't like the way a business is doing, is conducting themselves, vote with your dollars. Take your dollars away from
Perfect
them.
example
And
with people to listen to us, Nick. I see it all the time. Bitching and moaning about toys, right? The packaging, this, or they keep re-releasing and repainting the figure. You know why they're doing that? Because you motherfuckers keep buying it. I mean, dude, it's so simple. Like, economics can get very deep, but on the surface, it's simple. If we kill the demand, that's it. They have nowhere to go. They have nowhere to sell those fucking widgets to get their porcelain bathrooms. Okay? All right? I'm not a commie.
Yeah, I mean,
I am not a commie. I'm just telling you real life. Like, we kill ourselves for like 100 people on the planet.
Yeah, no, it is the most fundamental principle of capitalism is that you get to decide how things go with where you spend your money.
Yeah, the problem is we've all gotten used to a comfortable life and we don't want to give that up, and nothing's ever going to change. Like when I used to work in corporate America, I'd be like, dude, this work week is fucking crazy. 60 hours and you guys think that this is something to be proud of. I was like, if we all across the country just like, what, fuck you. I'm working here Monday to Friday, fucking 8 to 4. And you just stop. They can't stop you. They can't do it. You could cripple.
This is how unions are formed. Mm-hmm. And they were giving you guys an economics lesson.
And why no one wants unions? Who runs a big business?
Yeah, no, you know who doesn't like unions? CEOs and Republicans.
Yeah, Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk.
Yeah.
And like I said,
there's probably when they have real power.
Yeah, there's probably people out there that aren't educated, like, oh, these goddamn socialist liberal fucks. And hey, that's fine. Like I said, just educate yourself. Educate yourself. Okay. We all kill ourselves for the benefit of the few. Yeah. And I live a good life. Like I know, there's probably people listening to us, Nick, that are literally digging ditches 80 hours a week, barely getting by. Those are the people I'm taught, like that, even more so. Like, you can change your shit. It just, you got to understand, like, it's just never going to happen. We because of the machines in place to kind of keep people lemoning, yes, work myself to death. That's the American way. Like, people buy into that. They think it's great, and you can't convince them otherwise. So, all right, let's move on. We've done a lot of financial shit today. I'm wondering if anyone's still listening. We do have one more.
I know, right? We definitely went off on a tangent here, but it's important. Like, this is important to talk about because this is all about the future of Star Wars and Marvel too. Like, if you are a Marvel fan, like, what's going on now is huge to the future of Marvel.
Pop culture in general. And it's not just, I mean, AI, look what it did to us today. That's AI is prevalent everywhere to make decisions. It's soon going to be making content. Okay. Like, just be aware. Stay woke. Ha 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 ha. Got you, motherfuckers. All right, here we go. So we do still have one more little news post that isn't a bunch of happy horse shit about money. And it's Star Wars Outlaws, Nick. And it was a pretty cool update. Shouldn't take too long to kind of parse through here. But it gave me some insights that I kind of enjoy. And what we're talking about is Julian Grady, who is the creative director on the game, was speaking in Edge magazine. And he was talking about what fans should expect in terms of, hey, if I go to this planet, is it going to be massive, or is it just like, a tiny little zone that I can get through in 30 minutes and then I'll have to go to another planet? You know what I mean? So he came out and confirmed, he's like, listen, exploring planets is going to be like a journey, even if you have a high-speed vehicle to traverse said planet. He goes on to explain, he says, it's a crude analogy, but the size of one planet in Star Wars Outlaws, that's me adding that, The size of one planet might be about equivalent to 2 of the zones in Assassin's Creed Odyssey, for example. If you play that game, those zones are pretty fucking big. So that's a good thing. He goes on to say it could be 2 to 3 zones, but it's not, this sort of epic, the whole of England recreated approach. So, Nick, I think what he's saying is that when you go to planets and you land, even if you're on your swoop, it may take you a day's worth of gaming to fully unlock everything that planet may have to offer. That's not even an actual core mission. It could just be, side type of shit, side quests.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I mean, that's fantastic because that's kind of unlike any other Star Wars. I mean, I feel like the theme of Outlaws is it's unlike any other Star Wars game we've seen before. And I think it's a good thing. I love that they're encouraging exploration through size, because I think that when with the Jedi Survivors series or whatever, the Jedi series that's out now, exploration is encouraged through kind of forcing you to explore
and do a bunch of dumb fucking platforming. Might I add that, please?
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's more forced exploration through you have to go this way because the mission is taking you this way. Mm-hmm. Whereas what was cool about Assassin's Creed was the encouragement of exploration was due to just even in the early games was due to just the open environment around you and the things that you could find when you explored. Oh, yeah. So exploration was encouraged.
Bad for gaming ADD, these types of games are, but good, because I like that type of shit where you just plot me in a map. That's why I'm loving Diablo 4 still. It's just okay, I'll log in, I'll get something done. It's going to be beneficial to my character, even if I've been done with the game for the past 3 weeks. So I kind of like that. So hey, here you go. There's the main shit if you want to fuck with it, but here's 800 other icons that your ADD ass needs to go and look at just to make sure that it's not something you're going to miss.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I didn't play AC Odyssey. I dropped the AC series.
It's big. I mean, I think this last one I played, and it is, from what I remember, it's so massive. I was 80 hours in, and I think I barely scratched the main mission.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, I touched Valhalla, for a bit, but I literally probably only played 2 hours of that game. But
I washed out of that one.
What I enjoyed about it was that feeling of what really pulled me in was especially once you got to Ezio, it was I'm in Italy. I'm not here's your route that you go and then the mission's over. I'm in Italy, and when I go to Rome, I'm in Rome. I can go to the Colosseum. I can go see all this shit that I want to see. And that's what made it really interesting to me. Whereas with Jedi Survivor or with Jedi Fallen Order, it really felt like you're on this planet and we're taking you through this planet and that's all you get to see of it. And that is while it's cool because it's you get to see all of what they developed because they take you through it. It doesn't feel as rewarding as you saying the mission's here, but I'm going to go over here because there, like you said, Matt, there's this little red dot on the map.
I got to find out what that red dot is, dude. I mean, you know what I mean? I mean, Diablo 4, the markers are somewhat informative, but it's the same way. It's oh shit, I was going here, but now I see a blue exclamation point. So I'm going to go ahead and turn hard right and go see what this asshole needs. And maybe I'll help him first. So I'm all about this. And really, I think when you have, for lack of a better word, maps set up this way, it really encourages the RP of an RPG. Because that's where you can be you know what, this is my game. I don't give a fuck what the narrator's telling me to do. I'm going to go check out this skull thing, or I'm going to go fuck with these bounty hunters over here, because who knows, maybe it'll increase my reputation. That kind of leads me into some other points here, Nick, is that there is going to be a reputation system naturally, and it will most definitely affect how NPCs interact with you on planets, what type of missions you'll be able to do, who may be sending bounties after you, so that's cool. But real quick before we move on, these locations, This isn't No Man's Sky. So if you go to a new planet, they are all handcrafted, meaning you had some asshole constructing every polygon and bit of color and texture and form and shape to make that planet and its zones come to life. So that kicks ass. But like I said, onto reputation here. We just have some bullet points I'll kind of rip off, and then we'll move into the fan segment. But the game is going to focus on, like we said, the full freedom of approach when it comes to encounters. So it's not like, hey, you got to do this stealth, or you got to shoot this guy. It's your choice. You know what I mean? Your choice. Exclusive quests, vendor prices, locked off areas can be accessed by the reputation system. So depending on what factions you're good or bad with, Nick, will yield special missions, certain items you can buy, certain vendors you can go to. That's pretty dope. Players are not going to have total free reign in terms of travel, meaning you can't just freely fly above a planet, but there will be set landing and takeoff areas. So you can't just like buzz through a planet on your ship and fuck with people.
So this all, like these last two, the exclusive quest, vendor price, locked off areas through rep system, and then the travel system being like set takeoff and landing areas, those are straight from Star Wars The Old Republic MMO.
All right, there you go.
I don't know if the build is, like, I don't know if how they built it is, but it's the exact same thing in the MMO, because you have rep with all these different factions on these different planets. When you unlock certain rep levels, you unlock vendors, you unlock quests for them, you unlock all this stuff like they just said. And then also in Star Wars The Old Republic, when you go, like when you look at your galactic map and you choose a planet to land on, there are like, you can land on Oricon here, or you can land on Oricon here. It's not just like you're flying and then you fucking dip down wherever you want to. Like there are specific landing zones like that as well. So it's very interesting that, like, I don't know if it was intentional or if they just like, this is just how they wanted to build it, but that is exactly the same as the MMO.
I like this, Nick. You'll like this. Drew Originals popped in. I bought the PS5 last year and played Ghost of Tsushima out of the gate and was blown away. I had to let them know, like, yeah, we're huge fans here. I actually have my Lord Jin Sakai figure sitting right next to me. So love that game, love the franchise. I do hope there is a sequel of some sort. I haven't even played like the DLC. Who knows? I'm fully into my Druid right now on Diablo 4. I can't help.
I mean, Sony's really good about like actually doing follow-ups to those really popular games. So hopefully.
Yeah, I expect some more Sakai action. All right, continuing on with some of the bullets for Outlaws, and then we'll move on. Nyx, like your little alien companion. Julian's like, hey, just think, Elizabeth from BioShock Infinite, or BD1 from, Jedi Survivor. So that's cool. You're going to kind of have this interacting companion that can do some shit for you. Each planet designed to be big enough that traversing will feel like a journey, even if you're on a fast-moving vehicle. So they're not going to be tiny. Like I said earlier, expect to spend some legit time on these planets if you want to fully unlock them. Vass's ship, Trailblazer, was inspired by toys of the 70s and was made to be very, very simple. Game is set, we know that, in between Empire and Jedi. And the ND5 droid, that's the murder droid, definitely was kind of lifted from the prequel. So the big hits coming out of here, Nick. The rep system will affect kind of what you can do in terms of side quests and who may be fucking with you from the various criminal factions out there. Handcrafted locations that should be in similar size to AC Odyssey's zones, 2 to 3. So good stuff there. I like that update. And the best part is this game is set for a 2024 release. I think in the spring. So unless we get the inevitable, hey, just kidding, we're going to delay it another month or two to polish it, we should be playing this game by this time next year.
Hey man, if they deliver on all of this, because if you're a gamer, if you've been in the video game world for a while, and like especially during the first iteration of like online DLC type game releases, you know that like I mean, just look at fucking, like, for example, look at Cyberpunk 2077 announcement, all the stuff that they said was going to be in that game, and then what released. Like, if they can deliver on all of these things that they've put out here, this game is exactly what we've been looking for. You know, like it gives you the freedom of exploration that has really never been there in a Star Wars game. You could argue to some degree that KOTOR had some
but
exploration.
Nick, we're talking
freedom.
2003 level of exploration, not modern gaming where even Ghost as an example. I mean, that had a somewhat constrained map, but all three parts of that island were still pretty massive. So you're right. So I mean, this is going to be a whole new gaming experience for Star Wars fans, and hopefully those of you that are upset that it's a female lead, hopefully you can get over that and just dive in, because it should be banging here. Here, Nick, you'll like this one from Spencer. Just starting the show, Matt. You have every right to be emotional and upset. I'm telling you, you're gonna be like, Christ, I'm glad I missed this.
No, I mean, look, it was definitely like, usually I don't have meetings towards the end of the day, but I had a meeting.
Yeah, he's like, oh, Nick canceled me too. He's not here.
I had a meeting that ran from 3:30 to around 4:45, 4:50 when I jumped in. So like, it definitely was bad timing, but yeah, no, I mean, I also heard that it was a very emotional
all I can
start.
Say, if you like watching a grown man get all soppy and mushy, you definitely want to watch the opening of the show. On the audio version, it's going to be rough because there's a good amount of dead air in between my
blubbering.
Well, I don't. Like I said, I mean, at some point, I did need Fred to come in with the type of shit, but no, I was taking pauses to try to man choke it back, but I couldn't. It took me like 2 or 3 minutes to recover until Sir Dork teed me up with a question for Mission Impossible. He's like, give this asshole something else to talk about, or he's just going to be a blubbering mess for 2.5 hours.
And hey, look, I mean, I just looked at the IG account now. We're almost up to 200 followers. So just in like the span of time when I joined the show, we've already had like 50 more people.
It's fine. Hey, listen, man, like I've said, I try to be as authentic as possible on the show. And I don't think you get that on many Star Wars fan podcasts. And never will I ever compare us to the great man himself, Howard Stern. But that is my philosophy. When I'm talking, I'm gonna give you real. You know what I mean? Like, and sometimes it gets me in trouble. Sometimes it loses us fans. Sometimes it gains us fan. But today was a perfect example of you get Matt. And a version of Matt that even his family doesn't get too often. So you all should feel pretty fucking special. You're getting the real deal here. Sometimes a little loopy. Like I said, I probably need to get checked for manic depression or bipolar. Hey, but we made it. We got out, and we'll see what Nick thinks of the blubbering idiot later on. Hey, anyone else think I'm in the golf these days? Look, all my ads are fucking golf on the website right now. All right, so this is usually when we do our fan segment. We are still going to do the fan segment this week, but bad news here. We can't do the top 5. I mean, our account was deleted, so all of Nick's picks are gone, and we're not going to try to rehash who he had down. He didn't take notes. It's all good. So
yeah, like usually when I do, so like behind the scenes, when I do the top 5, I pull my 5, I pull the images off to like make the post on our Instagram, and then I delete them because I don't want to keep like other people's artwork on my computer that I don't own. Like, obviously I'm only using it for a short period of time. So for those of you out there
community
who are wondering
guideline
about
violation, Nick, delete those goddamn images.
Yeah. There we go. But unfortunately I can't tell, like I can remember some of them.
That's all right.
I can't tell you that it was that TX Carlo was one of the top 5. Sir Dork and his new duck pick was one of the top 5.
And that is a fucking gem.
That was a really good one. I think From the Outer Rim was in the top 5.
All right.
The last 2.
Hey, there you go. You got 3 of the names out there. But hey, here's the deal. Real quick before we do question of the week, and then we'll put this episode to bed. The new account is up for now. I don't know. It's already been suspended once. It's putting it up because all you bastards are following us, and I'm trying to return the favor, but I think IG considers too many clicks of the follow to be bot behavior. So I got suspended, and then we got back in. So Don't take it personally if we haven't re-followed you back. I'm slowly going to start adding the accounts that are familiar to us. But just I'm pretty sure we're on a short leash at this point in time with Meta and IG. But here's the deal. StarWarsTime.show is the new handle on Instagram. Go give it a follow if you haven't done so. We are still going to support and monitor the Star Wars Time Show hashtag on Instagram. So please consider keep using that in your shots. And we still want you to tag us in your posts. There is still going to be
Star Wars Time.
Yeah, at StarWarsTime.show. So how it's going to go, obviously you guys keep doing your thing, making that kick-ass shit. I will be still looking at it. Instead of featuring to our profile, they're just going to go to stories. I know it's bullshit, but like I said, as Drew Original is now saying, how are you supposed to correct an issue if IG doesn't tell you what was wrong? That's where we're at. Like I said, we got suspended. I appealed. Within 5 minutes, they pretty much said, you're done. Like, no more appeals. Your account is permanently disabled. So that's why we're changing things. I can only think we got in trouble for featuring content. Someone reported us, or I don't know. I really don't know, because there's so many accounts out there that, especially Star Wars accounts, that literally just lift content from TikTok, Facebook, everywhere, and post it as their own. No bullshit, and they have 100,000 followers and their account's active. So that's the change. Keep it up. So Star Wars Time Show, the hashtag, and then tag at StarWarsTime.show. And yes, I'm going to say that every fucking time because I have a tick. And we'll be back. Just look for the top 5 next week. Unfortunately, I don't know how we're going to share the graphic on IG without potentially offending the AI. So it may go back to just the generic top 5, or maybe I'll start making my graphic so it's repurposed material, so it falls under fair use. It's just, see where we're at now. So who the fuck knows? Keep it up. But there will be a top 5 next Monday night on StarWarsTime.net at minimum, and we will honor them next Tuesday on this show. Okay. So that's not, the fan segment's not going away. The top 5 on the show is not going away. But in terms of daily features in our profile, that's going to stop. They're going to go to stories, which I know is bullshit. Everyone else does that. It's not that special. But we still want to kind of highlight accounts because I like it. So keep it up. We'll be here for you. We still support all you motherfuckers. We're just going to need you to kind of support us a bit at this point in time. All right, but we do have a question of the week, and then, like I said, we'll kind of shut this down. The question of the week was, hey, what are you most excited for in the Ahsoka series? I believe I've used that before, but repurpose it because we just got that trailer, so you might have some new thoughts. So let's go ahead and get things switched up. Or drop the browser. Of course, Slack isn't going to come up with the buttons, so... All right, there it is. Like I said, I forgot to post the question itself, but here are the responses, and they were coming through on Haywood Pop today. I might still kind of do some cross posting on Haywood Pop because I at least still have,
so like rebuild some of.
Yeah, I have like 5,700 over there, even though that's been chipped. At one point, I think I had 6,500. So I at least have some voice over there. So there will be some cross promotion between the two. And then once we're back here and have a decent following, it'll just be StarWarsTime.show. But here we go. Up first in the stories, our boy Bill, Bat2797. What is he most excited for in the Ahsoka series? Murder Droid. I agree. Chopper. Wah, wah, wah. Up next, Nate, a.k.a. Chronophore. See all the supporting cast. Thrawn, Sabine, Hera, maybe even Ezra. Well, you're definitely going to see him, Nate, at least in hologram form, correct? So, yes. Ripik Tan, our boy, found us over there. There's so much I'm stoked for, but I think mostly just to see where Ahsoka's story is going. Plus, where all our rebels are at. I like it.
Yeah.
And there you go,
Good
Nick.
stuff.
I just got lazy here and just kind of faced it because we were getting some replies. So I'll let you rip through those.
Hey, I'm happy to see that the fans came out on the Haywood Pop and showed support. So Pop Toy Photos says seeing the Rebels characters back again, as long as they don't overshadow Ahsoka like Mando did to Book of Boba Fett.
Fair point.
Fair point. Action figure Snap says super excited for Sabine.
Hey, our boy said he may send us a gift to make our loss not feel as heavy.
Thank you, Adrian.
Yeah.
You all don't feel like you have to do that.
No. Go ahead. The rest of you start sending. I'll take them at least. If you don't want to send them to Texas because it's too hot, let me know. I'll give you my post office box. You can send all the shit here.
We very much appreciate
Tinkerbell.
Thank you so much. I will have to send you my updated address. Skeleton Astronaut says Thrawn and cool robots and troopers. I'm sure that there will be all of those in there. Toy at Heart says, I'm excited for more Wars of the Stars.
So he is unlike Bob Iger, who does not want any more Wars of the Stars.
Bob Iger is definitely not excited for more of that. 1/6 Shooter, he's out here supporting, and a member of Scoundrels of the New Republic. Stay tuned for the drop of episode 3 sometime soon. He says, seeing the Rebels crew back together and on the Ghost, and hopefully more Zeb. I gotta imagine Zeb's going to be in there. You would think
so. They teed him up, so you got to pay off on that.
Visual approach photo says, love you guys.
Love you too, buddy.
Heart. Love you too. Thank you so much. He says, I'm excited to see the Rebels in live action. Filoni is at his best when he gets weird with the Force and its complexities.
Good point.
Hoping for that as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think about like the WBW and all that goofy shit, the Night Sisters. Well, I guess George would have been involved with that. But yeah, I mean, Dave definitely brings some interesting spins on the midichlorians.
Oh yeah, he does. And look, that's the World Between World is literally just the Force and its complexities. So I imagine we're going to get a lot of that. So you'll be in a ton of Force complexities visual approach.
Make sure to contribute to our GoFundMe. Thank you.
Yes. Klondike Studios says Thrawn. Of course, we all want to see Thrawn. Good stuff. Next up, Red Dog 5. He says, looking forward to Dave's vision converting to live action and a proper story to get invested in. Plus, seeing Rebels characters coming to life is a real treat for me. I am.
Agreed.
It is. It's a real treat. Work More or Less says seeing the Rebels characters in live action in general. And
I saw Young up in here today. Thank you, Jason. You always make us feel special.
Jason said that he enjoyed the economics talk.
I couldn't tell. I mean, B-Mad and Jason seemed to be into it, but you never know. I liked it. I mean, you can tell. Nick definitely has some insights into it from his career, so it was good.
Yeah. So I just had to launch into that diatribe. Sorry if you guys didn't enjoy that for some of the other listeners, but that's kind of my wheelhouse. All right. Next up. All they're going to remember is that I'm a communist, so don't worry. That's going to be the new.
I told you he's a commie bastard. See, saying all the laborers should rise up. That son of a bitch.
Oh man, Lord of Thane says hard to tell, but probably Sabine.
All right,
Sabine's definitely going to be a highlight. You're right about that for sure. Robot Knight Prime says, not really excited about this series.
To each their own.
And I can understand, like, if you didn't get into Rebels or you never really got into the cartoon series, I can definitely see that. And that's kind of what I was talking about before is like, this is a bit of a niche for those of us who are big fans of the cartoon series. This is definitely up our alley. And then last up is Galagus Rax Picks. He says Thrawn is the obvious one, but in general, having alien characters being front and center of a Star Wars show was long overdue. I also want to be surprised story-wise.
Me too. Merrick equals who?
Question mark.
Sidious's clone, Rey's dad.
Could be. Could be any of those things. Could be. There's a lot of
You're a Palpatine.
Potential surprise out there for the stories. Maybe this is where they cross over Marvel and Star Wars, and Thanos is the big bad guy in this galaxy
it's Snake Eyes. They're gonna cross over G.I. Joe too.
G.I. Joe come in now. That's it.
Oh,
So
fuck.
it's odd to end the show here,
I know.
but that's it for this week, guys. There's no top 5, like I said. At least 3 of them from the Outer Rim: TX Carlo and Sir Dork. For the other 2, I'm so sorry.
Hey, maybe you can find Nick's post on the internet way back machines. Even got cached,
I don't know,
but at Star Wars Time Show, the OG is fucking toast. So if you're new, if you just joined in, that's why no top 5 this week. But throughout this cast, I start off weeping about losing the account. Then we go into other explanations, and you know, by the end, we're here, we're smiling, we're having a good time. So if you missed any part of the show, make sure to rewind. It's definitely an emotional roller coaster, at least from this host today. But yeah, Nick, it's time to go to bed, right? It's time to put this one down. So it is time to put this show to bed. All We're right. 2 followers shy of 200 on the new StarWarsTime.show Instagram. So if you're out there and you're listening and you haven't refollowed us, we would truly appreciate that. Help us pump our numbers back up. That's it. Stay on top of it, because, you know, unlike someone like Jared that had his old portfolio to kind of reload his account when he came back, we really don't. I mean, I delete most of the videos I make. It's not worth keeping. They're all out there on digital platforms. So just keep it. You know, if you see our content popping up over the next month or 2, try to say, hey, let me try to boost this. Let me try to pump it up.
Yeah,
we are going to need that help.
Yeah,
because we're not doing the features. Which, hey, listen, we all knew that was one of the reasons we were able to kind of build an audience fast. We know you're not stupid. I'm not here trying to be an asshole and lie to you. So it's going to take a long time to kind of get back to where we were, but hopefully I'll just make more of our own content now. Maybe that will go somewhere. But please keep your eyes on StarWarsTime.show and just share that shit out. Remind people what happened, and you know, let's bring the fandos in. The core fandos, like I said, you're one of the reasons I kind of had my moment when we kicked off this show. I knew turning to all you early in the day was the right move, to kind of commiserate and just the support you showed to me personally on Haywood Pop, and then to the both of us on this cast, as well as Star Wars Time.show. I told you it's a fucking tick. It's never going to stop, people. That's how it is now. But honestly, that's why I do this shit. Okay, so I appreciate you. Fuck you guys for making me cry on camera and mic in a public space, but it's life, my friends. It feels good to kind of do that every once in a while if you've got a penis. I promise you will not grow a vagina if you cry. It's okay. It's okay. But hey, let's get off that somber note, end on a high. Don't forget, there's always time for Star Wars Time, even if Instagram and Meta don't think so. Fuck you, Zuckerberg. I was going to root for you in your battle against that other asswipe, but now I hope both of you kill yourselves in the octagon. But you have not taken us out. We have risen from the ashes. StarWarsTime.show on StarWarsTime.net. Don't forget, tell a friend, loop them in. This is the best time to bring them now. Our slate is clean. Show them the new profile. It's only our content. And just remind them, there is always time for this little show. So tune in, have some fun, spread the word. Ratings and reviews, likes and comments, notifications and subs. Do the routine. Here's one more subscribe reminder for your YouTube people. There it is. Like, share, sub. All right? Don't forget, my friends, if you listen to the Star Wars Time.show, the Force will be with you always.